Because, you have something, everybody, wants to get mad at me sometimes or say, I don't know what I'm talking about. But, tell Crispy, I don't like this, Crispy. And then Crispy will probably calm me down a little bit. And then, I'm calmed down. But there's been no Crispy to calm me down. There's been no Coach Peterson to calm me down. So we are raising money today for the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee. Donate to Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee today. Text FUTURE to 70707. Did you get that?
7070.
There you go.
Cool. Got it.
They've
Noted.
also we got a silent auction going today. Text PREDS to 76278. Items include Pekka Rinne and Philip Forsberg signed jerseys, a Predators team signed stick. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Signed Titans photos, signed Tim Corbin and Vandy baseball memorabilia, and a signed Mookie Betts baseball. They've got free donuts and coffee from Twice Daily starting at 6 o'clock. The parking lot party is today from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and we got all kinds of stuff out there, free food, games, family fun activities, giveaways, and much, much more. I think that's it.
I think that might be it. But
I think
that is a lot.
I mean, I will say this.
It's been a fun day here at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue.
There's a lot going on, and I'm not one to sit here. You all know me. Like, I don't like wasting time on the radio. How was your day today, Caroline? How was your, that's not really my thing. But
my day was nice, though.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
But, like today, we're going to raise some money for the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, we are.
And I think because I grew up pretty privileged, I feel like some sense of guilt sometimes when it comes to those who aren't. And the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee does a fantastic job, and they always have. I mean, the Boys and Girls Club across the country does a fantastic job. So if you want to just make a donation, please do. If you want to bid on some of these great silent auction items, please do. Please feel free. Again, the number in order to do that is text PREDS to 76278. And again, any dollar we raise, I'll be glad to be a part of something special that we do for the young people in our community. So today, and we got a lot to get to today, but today is the start of Titans minicamp. Now, I want to ask this question to you, to the callers, to Ian, to everybody. How much does this matter to you? How much does the start of minicamp matter to you? What about minicamp matters to you? How important is minicamp? Because I'm going to be honest, we'll hear from the players when they start talking in a couple of minutes. I think in 30 or 40 minutes they'll have their press conferences. We'll have Mike Vrabel when he talks in a couple of minutes for whatever he says. Joe Rexroad's going to call in after all that's over with and tell us what actually happened today at minicamp. I've been reading about other teams around the league and what's been going on at their minicamps, and I still wonder, how important is minicamp?
For me, not really that important. If there was a player for the Titans that was, in contract negotiations who would have said, I'm not happy with my contract, and if that player wouldn't have shown up to minicamp today, then, okay, there you go. That's kind of a big story there. But until the pads go on, it doesn't really do much for me.
So the lack of drama eliminates the importance of minicamp to you?
I don't know if I would call it necessarily drama, but sure, let's use that word. I guess it's the lack of anything, any substantial information that could come out of Titans minicamp. And that's not to be said that there could be some more drama coming out of Titans minicamp, but just, there hasn't been anything in as of late.
Ian, what does minicamp mean to you?
Not a whole lot, to be honest with you. I mean, I guess it's mandatory, so people not showing up when it's supposed to be mandatory, I guess, is something you could kind of maybe look into. But other than that, honestly, I don't get a whole lot out of it.
So I guess I'm a little torn. And here's why I'm a little torn. Last year, if you had told me we were having minicamp, I'd have jumped on the table. I'd have said, oh, my God, there's football minicamp. Oh, thank Lord, we've got some football. People are wearing jerseys and they're throwing it to other people. And, oh, yes, this is the best. But I'm kind of like you guys right now. I'm kind of like you guys. And not only that, the things I care about at minicamp are the things that the media can't even report on. Who's playing right tackle? Mm-hmm. How are they lined up in the secondary? Those are the things I care about. And you can't even talk about those things when it comes to minicamp. So here's what you're going to get. And I don't know how much this matters to you guys, but here's what I think we're going to get. We're going to get boy, Tannehill and Julio Jones looked really good today. I'll tell you, they completed 3 passes, and it looked great. Or you're going to get something really bad like an injury, which you hope you don't have. The only thing, I saw Joe Shad, longtime college football reporter, now covers the Dolphins for the Miami Sun-Sentinel, and he tweeted out that Tua Tagovailoa has thrown 5 interceptions today at Dolphins minicamp. Ooh. Even if somebody did that for the Titans, I'm not sure the media would be allowed to report on it. I know they're allowed to say things like, oh, yeah, so-and-so had a nice interception or so-and-so had a nice throw to so-and-so. But 5 interceptions for Tua at minicamp. And this is why I say I'm torn. Because if Ryan Tannehill throws 5 interceptions today at minicamp, which I don't think he has, but Joe will tell us, if he throws 5 interceptions, that's probably at least worth discussing. But if you're a team like the Dolphins and you don't even really have full faith in your quarterback and he throws 5 interceptions, if Mariota threw 5 interceptions at a minicamp, we'd literally do 8 hours on it. Literally 2 full days on that. So that's where I'm torn. It's like either something really bad has to happen or it's just kind of, they threw the ball around, they caught the ball. They ran the drills. They put the ball in the hands of the running back, and they hit him with the pad. But they didn't hit each other because they're not allowed to hit each other anymore at this kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm torn.
But also, I hear you. I agree that if Ryan Tannehill were to throw 5 interceptions today, it would be way worth talking about. But also, it's June. If it was late August, 2 weeks out from game 1, and Ryan Tannehill's there, or Tua or whoever is still throwing 5 interceptions in a practice and an OTA, then yeah, I think that would be a cause for concern. But it's June 15th.
I care. I care.
I have a really hard time making something huge out of it.
I totally disagree.
It definitely is substantial, but
I totally disagree. And you said that to me when I said spring football and college football is useless to me. Spring games in college football is useless to me. And you were like, but you can see all the guys who are, it's like kind of the same thing. But here's the difference. If the Titans today, if instead of like a mini camp practice that you weren't even allowed to tell everybody what was going on, if, say, they had brought another team into practice with them today, let's pick, I don't know, who's close, the Bengals. If the Bengals were practicing with the Titans today, and Joe Burrow threw 4 touchdowns on the first team secondary, we would be going bananas. Even though you can't hit Burrow, you can't rush Burrow, you're not having any offensive line versus defensive line play, anything that matters in a mini camp kind of thing. But we would be just beside ourselves. Or if Ryan Tannehill was throwing picks left and right to that crummy Bengals defense. If there was a preseason game in June, people would be going nuts. I'm just trying to figure out how to qualify what the level of what we're going to hear should be. Like if we hear something that is like when Joe tells us what happened or we hear the press conferences that are coming up, if we hear something that's bananas, I think we probably will make a big deal about it. So I can sit here and say, do I really care? Like I woke up this morning, I'm like, oh, it's minicamp, great, let's see whatever. But I don't really care. But then it's like, if something happens, then I care.
See, but that's not fair.
I know.
If it's just, business as usual, we're not, you're not going to make a huge deal out of it. But it's like, oh, all of a sudden Ryan Tannehill throws a pick, and now it's the most important thing in the whole entire world. I think the biggest thing for minicamp is, okay, we are that much closer to football. And that's what it means to me.
So you think this is SEC Media Days? This is the SEC Media Days of the NFL. Because SEC Media Days to me, I can't tell you how many guests we have on at SEC Media Days, and I ask them the same questions every time. Every year it's the same question. Are the Vols ever going to be good again is always a question. Mm-hmm. Which coaches are most on the hot seat this year is always a topic of discussion. And is it Alabama and everybody else, or is there a second team that could get in there?
There's
and we
sometimes
ask
a starting quarterback conversation in there if that's a topic of conversation for that school.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But, that's it. I mean, and I'll give you an example. SEC Media Days 2018. Ian, you remember this. the Aaron Murray, Jeremy Pruitt drama on this show. Aaron Murray was sitting down with us, and he said on the air, he said, yeah, I just don't think Jeremy Pruitt's going to be a good head coach. And I said, why not? And he said he was a bad CEO and he didn't treat Mark Richt right. And as soon as he said it, I texted Joe Rexroad, who at the time was working for a different outlet than he works for now and was not working for us. And I'm like, you are never going to believe what Aaron Murray said. And then next thing I know, as soon as we're done talking to Aaron Murray, there's an article in the Knoxville News Sentinel that was Aaron Murray trashes Jeremy Pruitt. And the whole next day and the rest of SEC Media Days was about Aaron Murray trashing Jeremy Pruitt. So my point
You
is,
little pot stirrer.
well, I didn't stir any pots. He said it. But the big issue here is that it only matters if something bad happens. And I can't root for something bad. Like, I can't root for something bad that would devote all of our day. Knock on wood. Where's some wood? Knock
All
on
of
it. Knock on
Everywhere.
it. Okay.
Everywhere.
If Derrick Henry steps the wrong way and something bad happens, that literally takes over everything we're doing for the rest of the day. The end. Like, that's it. Like, at that point, something
So
bad.
you like the drama too.
But my point is that I can't root for something bad to happen, but that something bad happening is the only thing that is meaningful in minicamp. The Bobby is in the best shape of his life talk is not interesting because nobody believes it.
What about if Caleb Farley is out there in minicamp today? I don't think he will be, but I'm just saying, hypothetically, if he is out there, I would say that that's a good thing that is of note.
If Caleb Farley's out there and gets 3 interceptions, it is.
Yeah.
If Caleb Farley does one drill and comes out, and again, the things that matter to me are who's lining up where. Like, who's the right tackle?
Where
Or
is Dylan Radins going to be?
how are they lining up in the secondary? And here's what's important because, and again, they can't tell you. Like, TD can't tell you, Corey Curtis can't tell you, Joe Retro can't tell you, Jim Wyatt can't tell you. They can't tell you. But you have to wonder, like, okay, if I was going out there to look at the secondary today, I know Janoris Jenkins is going to be at one spot, and I know that Christian Fulton is going to be somewhere either inside or outside. If Christian Fulton is inside and Chris Jackson is outside, that tells me that that's Caleb Farley's spot outside, and Fulton's going to be the nickel. If Fulton's outside, then that tells me they want Fulton to be an outside guy, or they're not sure Farley's going to be available, so they're going to put Elijah Molden in the slot. Like that, that matters to me.
That's something substantial.
But they can't tell you.
Can't.
So again, I'm not hoping something bad happens. I'm just saying. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company. We are live today. The wholesaling studio powered by RumbleOn.com. We are live at Fordyce Center, Bellevue. Again, tons going on in the parking lot for 615 Day today. We are trying to raise a bunch of money for the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee. And again, the 2 o'clock hour is presented by Steadfast and True Yoga. We will have hourly sponsors throughout the day. 615-737-1025. Now, there is one of these stories, best shape of their lives. This guy looks phenomenal in a non-contact, no offensive or defensive line minicamp that caught my attention. And we'll get to that next. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company. We're delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 1025 The Game. Stillman & Companies, delivered by TriStar Moving. We are live today, Ford Ice Center, Bellevue. It's 615 Day, presented by Social Furniture, out in West Nashville, hanging out with our friends at the Preds, raising money for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. And again, the 2 o'clock hour, presented by Steadfast and True Yoga. Ian is back in our wholesaling studio, powered by RumbleOn.com. He will let us know when the Titans are having their post-practice press conferences, and we will get that to you when that happens, including Mike Vrabel. I'm guessing you're going to hear from Tannehill today. I'm guessing you're going to hear from Tannehill today. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing you're going to hear from Henry today, because I don't think he's been there until today. So I'm guessing you're going to hear from him. And obviously you're going to hear from Vrabel. You probably aren't going to hear from Julio Jones, since you heard from him last week. So we will kind of keep that in mind how that goes along. So again, mini camp is always the time of year where you hear about best shape of their life, is always one of them.
Always.
And then another one is, oh, he just looked fantastic in mini camp. I mean, he caught, like if it comes out and they say Julio Jones had a bunch of great catches today at training or at mini camp, I'm not going to get too excited about that. My issue is going to be if Julio Jones doesn't have a bunch of great catches at mini camp, then I have a little bit of a problem. But there is one story that I know not to read into, and I'm reading into it anyways. ESPN.com, Rich Cimini, longtime Jets writer for ESPN.com. Wide receiver Elijah Moore and running back Michael Carter show up every day at 6:30 a.m. to get an extra work before practice, an unrookie-like routine that has impressed Jets coaches. In Moore's case, the early bird catches the passes, a lot of passes. The former Ole Miss star has been the standout of the Jets' off-season practices, demonstrating the skills that convinced them to draft him 34th overall. Beyond talent, Moore's, quote, work ethic is off the charts, Jets coach Robert Saleh said. His mindset is off the charts. I know not to read into minicamp. I know. He shows up at 6:30 every day. He walks to practice, and he walks home from practice, and he hits the weights extra, and Let me say this. I am not expecting the Titans' first-round draft pick to be on the field for minicamp today. And I'm okay with it because that's kind of the expectations have been set. If Elijah Moore becomes a star, and I have a hard time believing that Elijah Moore is going to become a star because he plays for the Jets, but that's the only reason why I have a hard time believing it. Other than that, I don't know. If Elijah Moore, there are a couple of draft misses where a guy misses on a pick and they don't really say like, oh, well, you could have had Bobby John with that pick instead. Oh, my God.
We love Bobby John.
You could have had, Tommy with that pick. And you normally don't do that unless you're picking like first and you take somebody and then the guy who goes second becomes a star. Floyd got this all the time with Kevin Dyson and Randy Moss because they played the same position and he took Dyson in the first round. If Elijah Moore becomes a star, is that the discussion that we have is, oh, my God, they could have had Elijah Moore and they didn't?
I don't think that's fair to think that way.
How is it not fair? We spent 3 months talking about this guy.
Okay, but also now the Titans have Julio Jones. So it's like, are you going to take Elijah Moore over Julio Jones? And it's like, okay, this guy shows up to practice at 6:30 every morning. He's working his butt off. Isn't that kind of what you're supposed to do when you're a rookie? And I don't want to undermine that at all because it does sound like he has a fantastic work ethic and that he is ready to be an NFL wide receiver and that he wants to give it his all. And that there is a lot to say about that. But I don't think that he's the only rookie in all of the NFL history to have shown up early and to put a lot of work in and to look really good and to try really hard and to have a really good attitude.
Okay, but he is on the front page of ESPN.com. So that makes it different. I don't see anybody else's rookie on the front page of ESPN.com as like the savior of the freaking Jets, like I see Elijah Moore.
But
there.
it's also the Jets.
It counts.
It counts.
It counts, and this is one of those things where, again, the Titans took Corey Davis 5th overall. Corey Davis never became a superstar, and that's okay to everybody except for me. That's okay. that Davis never became a superstar, and that Deshaun Watson, who was picked after him, and that Christian McCaffrey, who was picked after him, and that Jamal Adams, who was picked after him, and that Patrick Mahomes, who was picked after him, and that Tre'Davious White, who was picked after him, and that all these guys that were picked after Corey Davis did become stars. We never hold that against Robinson. And I don't see why that is, but that's not I'm not the one to do the holding against or the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is different. Like, this one is different because this is who the fans wanted. And I know the old saying, if you listen to the fans, pretty soon you're sitting with the fans, but this is the guy who the fans wanted. Tell me something about Titans corner Caleb Farley. I don't see TD on ESPN.com writing any stories about Caleb Farley. I don't see it on the front page.
Well, I think that we both agreed that if we were John Robinson, we probably wouldn't have picked Caleb Farley. So it's hard to sit back and say, oh, now all of a sudden we're really excited about Caleb Farley. I'm not going to do that.
That doesn't stop other people in the media from doing that.
Yeah, I know.
That is
but
a typical
we're not other
media
people in the
thing,
media.
for sure.
So, I'm not going to sit here and say all of a sudden, well, I didn't want Elijah Moore. I'm happy with Caleb Farley. I mean, that's just kind of a tough line to walk on. I mean, that's wonderful.
Will you read
for
this
Elijah
headline?
Moore.
Will you read this headline? This is the front page of ESPN.com. Will you please read this headline for the people?
Jets have been waiting 2 decades for wide receiver prospect like Elijah Moore.
Oh man. Again, it's mini camp.
But
It's
if the Titans
a
would have picked
mini
Elijah
camp.
Moore, you would have said, what about the defense? The defense needs work. We don't need another wide receiver.
No, I was pretty on board with Elijah Moore. I mean, I wouldn't have picked Elijah Moore because I wanted, pass rushers, and I didn't know that Azeez Ojulari was going to be like the 43rd pick in the draft. But, I wanted some pass rushers, so I would have been like, I don't know, maybe pass rusher. But you wouldn't have heard me say, don't take Elijah Moore. I mean, I feel like Elijah Moore was very much in the discussion, very much, I think everybody had made up. I saw something that was like, who do you want the Titans to take? And it was 82% Titan fans saying Elijah Moore. And again, you can't listen to the fans.
You can't.
If you're the general manager, you can't listen to the fans because listening to the fans will get you fired. I think the old line is if you listen to the fans, pretty soon you're sitting with the fans. Mm-hmm. And so I understand that. But I just saw that headline today, and I know not to get worked up by mini camp headlines. And then I see Jets have been waiting 2 decades for a prospect like Elijah Moore, which, by the way, also makes me feel old because when I saw that, I said, well, what about Santana Moss? That was 2 decades ago.
2 decades ago, yeah.
615-737-1025. We'll get to your calls and texts. And then, of course, we are getting ready and saddled up for Titan minicamp, what the Titans players have to say about it, plus Joe Rexrode, who's out at minicamp, will let us know what they've got to say about it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. And today, we'll be giving away a pair of tickets for Jimmy Buffett at Ascend Amphitheater. You, later in the show, can win a pair of tickets to see Jimmy Buffett and the Coral Reefer Band at Ascend Amphitheater on Tuesday, July 6th. Again, this hour is presented by Steadfast and True Yoga. Steadfast and True Yoga invites you to join their friendly, open, and supportive community. Use code 615day now through July 1st to receive 10% off a class package or drop-in class. Go to steadfastandtrueyoga.com now. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I'm just wondering if on that day, that first day last week, just having him up close and actually coaching him, if there was anything you saw that maybe you hadn't seen as much from afar, anything that you said, oh, wow, I didn't realize that about his game or his skill set.
Oh, I think the thing that jumps right out you is his length, his size. The power that he has. He has some explosiveness. His ability to be able to snap down out of the break. For a guy that's long and has really good body control. I think it's pretty easy to put 2 and 2 together and realize why this guy's been a great player for so long.
Here you go. That's Rob Moore, the Titans wide receiver coach yesterday on Julio Jones. Joe asked, what did you notice about him now you've seen him in person? He's really big, he's really fast, he's really strong, he's really good. Joe, your thoughts? It's kind of the vibe I got there.
Well, I would hope that he's really big and really strong and really good because he's not making $15 million to do nothing.
I just paraphrased that. I worry about that, but that's neither here nor there. Again, Elijah Moore, star of Jets minicamp. They've been waiting 2 decades, according to ESPN.com, for Elijah Moore. By the way, Bud Dupree will be first at the podium. Mm-hmm. Bud Dupree, Tannehill, Saffold, Vrabel will take them live as we are live out here at 615 Day at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. 615 Day presented by Social Furniture. And again, the 2 p.m. hour presented by Steadfast and True Yoga. Steadfast and True Yoga invite you to join their friendly, open, and supportive community. Use code 615 now through July 1st to receive 10% off a class package or a drop-in class. Go to steadfastandtrueyoga.com. Let's go to your phones. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. AG is going to kick us off today. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, AG.
Is AG president of the John Robbins fan club.
True.
Jerry Stillman back in the day used to complain so much about the wide receiver room with the Tennessee Titans. Since he was a little kid, the wide receiver room. Now we got all these blow-away wide receivers. And who we talking about? Elijah Moore all the way in New York City? Come on, Jerry.
Hey, I'm just telling you. Would you not want Elijah Moore on the Titans right now? A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Elijah Moore?
Is he better than A.J. Brown or Julio Jones right now?
Is he better than A.J. Brown or Julio Jones?
Well, no.
A.G., according to ESPN.com.
Why are we talking about this dude, man?
According to ESPN.com.
He came to work early. I go to work early every day.
Hey, 6:30 in the morning, Elijah Moore's there.
I don't even make $1 million. I make $18 an hour. I go to work every day early. So what?
You're the man, AG. I appreciate your call. He is the man. I will say this.
Good for him. Point.
Good for him going to work at 6:30 in the morning. That I can give him credit for. Again, part of this is just how laughable I find minicamp to be. Like all of the discussions around minicamp, and here we are. Like Bud Dupree's going to talk. Let's get right to it. But I will say this. So somebody asked me this, and you saw who it was from. But, again, somebody asked me, they said, you can back me up on this, a college coach who would know.
Yes.
Okay.
Reputable source.
A college coach who would know said that they don't believe in Farley or, unsure about Farley.
Not sold.
Not sold. And that perhaps the Titans would have been better off taking Elijah Moore than the trade for Julio Jones. How do you feel about that?
Oh.
If Elijah Moore becomes a stud.
But that's an if. And I know that there are a lot of ifs surrounding Julio Jones as well. If he can stay healthy, if he can work in this offense. But that's also if Elijah Moore, I keep wanting to call him Elijah Molden, if Elijah Moore can become a superstar. We know that Julio Jones is a superstar. Elijah Moore could have gotten him a lot cheaper than the Titans got Julio Jones. But that's if he becomes a superstar. We know what Julio Jones can do. We know what he can be. We don't know what he is at 32, but we know what he was at 25, 26, 27, 28, and that was pretty darn good. So it's easy to say that the Titans would have been better off with Elijah Moore than Julio Jones. Now the Titans have Julio Jones, but I think having that depth on defense and Caleb Farley, if he's healthy, which is another if, all these ifs are making me a little uneasy. So it's easy to say that now. But I think the Titans are in a good spot.
Let's go to your phones. Text line, also driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Caroline, what is in the text line?
Ben texted in and said, I still believe the Titans would have been better off trading down and selecting Elijah Moore rather than drafting Farley and trading for Julio. I just don't, I totally understand that argument. I totally see that. I don't know if I'm totally convinced because when it got close to draft time, Elijah Moore's draft stock was falling. He was at pick 17 in mock drafts? I'm not going to take mock drafts as Bible.
I'm going to say
for example,
honestly, they originally ranked him as a second or third rounder.
Right.
And he went in the second round. I mean, he went where he was. His draft stock didn't fall. It kind of was what he was.
Well, it was originally a second or third rounder, and then it was no, he's going to go middle of the first, and then wait, no, just kidding, he's going to go in the third, and he was kind of wishy-washy, kind of all over, and he ended up going in the second. So, I hear you. I see that argument. Could have gotten Elijah Moore for way cheaper than he could have gotten Julio Jones. We don't know what kind of production he's going to have, so I can't quite say yet. If Julio Jones pulls a hamstring in game 1, then I can say, yeah, the Titans would have been way better off picking Elijah Moore.
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine if that happens?
I mean, knock on all the wood.
Oh my goodness.
All
Can
the
you
wood.
imagine if that happens? Oh my. Oh my.
It's a pretty expensive game 1.
Let me say this about Elijah Moore. I have no idea if he can play.
Yeah, we don't know.
ESPN's telling me that, hey, the Jets, again, I'm not sure it takes a lot to be wowed by the Jets. The one thing that ESPN.com story about how Elijah Moore is the answer to the Jets' prayers, the one thing about that I will stand with is it tells me Corey Davis ain't the answer to their prayers, which is not surprising to me in the least. If Corey Davis goes to a Pro Bowl with the New York Jets, I will be more shocked than if the Nashville Predators win the Stanley Cup going 16-0 in the playoffs next year.
Wow.
I think it is more likely that the Predators, who I don't think have a team capable of winning a cup, I think it is more likely that they go 16-0 and win the cup next year than it is that Corey Davis make a Pro Bowl with the Jets.
Write it down.
So that's at least
Write it down. At Pro Bowl time, we'll circle back.
You will learn that writing it down. Ian, what do we want to call this? Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, is that a full-on guarantee?
Yes. Yes.
100% guarantee.
Now, see, Caroline's new to this, Ian.
The guarantee shofar when that comes out.
She is. Dun, 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 dun. I guarantee that Corey Davis will never make the Pro Bowl with the New York Jets. Now, that's not really much going out on a limb. But
yeah, that's not the craziest take in the whole world.
It's an official guarantee, and Ian will back me up on this. I'm pretty good with my guarantees.
I believe you. I believe you.
How long have you been doing the show for? 3 months?
3 months now, yeah.
Have I guaranteed a single thing yet?
No, and that's why I'm kind of excited.
There you go.
I am very excited for this guarantee.
There you go. What else we got in the text line?
Andrew texted in and said, Elijah Moore would be teaching up our wide receivers and making it a better room. I mean,
with that wealth of knowledge that he has from his long career in the NFL?
Andrew, are you a huge, Elijah Moore scholar? Have you been studying up on Elijah Moore film?
I'm going to guess that whatever Elijah Moore knows, AJ. All right, Vrabel's up. Here we go. Mike Vrabel at the podium.
Mike, with this wrapping up the offseason program, you've had so many new faces coming in on defense and some guys that are still recovering from situations. How is the defense in comparison to where you'd like it to be at this point of this offseason?
It's tough to make any comparisons year to year, Teresa. So, we're where we're at from training camp. But, we got some guys that are out there, and, hopefully we get 11 out there every time. Understand there's going to be moving parts throughout the season. That's kind of where we're at. A lot of this, it's been good for us, been getting some work in the red zone and then third down, those critical situations that we have to improve at.
Paul?
Mike, even beyond your top three, you got a lot of size and length at wide receiver. No smaller guys have become maybe a bigger thing around the league. And I know you've got Cam and Mason, but is there a logic behind? Do you guys like big receivers? And does Ryan maybe like big receivers?
I think that's everybody has a skill set, and so we have guys that have great size, great length, and most important is the production. However big you are or however fast you are, you have to be productive to be able to function within our offense and be able to block when we need you to block and be able to beat man coverage and be somebody that the quarterback trusts. And, some of that length, and if you use that length and some of that play strength to get open, that's great. And you can play big and within the rules, and have a large catch radius. I would imagine that you don't have to be as accurate as a quarterback if the catch radius improves. So, there's a lot of things that go into it, and it's important that each player plays to their skill set.
Jim Wyatt.
Like, what do you stress most during the mini camp, and how do you go about maybe incorporating some of the guys who have not been here in with the guys who've been here throughout the OTAs where you don't skip a beat?
Yeah, well, we're not going to wait for anybody to get up to speed. We're gonna keep rolling, and we expect those guys that haven't been here to be ready to go. And I think for the most part they were. We stress the same things, whether it's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or veteran minicamp. We want to be able to play with great effort and finish and be conditioned enough to do so. We want to continue to understand the concepts and the details that go along with each play offensively or defensively, and practice fundamentals and technique, things that we believe are critical.
Terry.
Mike, the tight end situation, how do you work when we know that Swain was mainly a blocking guy and Ferkser was mainly a receiving guy? How do you work in order to avoid predictability when one or the other is in the game?
Well, we play with multiple tight ends. Terry, sometimes there's a tight end and a fullback in there. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 tight ends. And, that's all part of formation and things, and making sure that, we're teaching those guys, ways that they can do their job, whether that's in the passing game or in the run game. And that's certainly something that we always have to be conscious of throughout our different personnel.
Buck.
Hey, Coach, we've talked to you about the value that you guys find in cross training for guys like Darrington, but what kind of value are you looking for them to get out of today when you guys are maybe mixing them up in individual drills and stuff like that?
Well, we start off every practice with ball disruption and ball security, and for the entire phase 3, we'd had the defenders practicing their different forms of ball disruption, and the offensive guys taking care of the football. How critical that is, and that's something that's going to be a team key. But in hopes of us turning the football over, we want to be able to make sure that we're taught properly to take care of it, and try to go and score, but making sure that we're taking care of the football now, because that's our responsibility as defenders. If we do turn the ball over, I just want to make sure that we're good there, and teach the offensive players that if we do happen to turn the football over, maybe there's an opportunity for somebody that's not being as safe with the ball, that we could maybe punch or hammer that football out.
Teron.
Yeah, what's up, Coach? I wanted to kind of get your take on just the synergy that you guys got with yourself, Jim Haslett, Jim Schwartz, as well as Shane Bowen, how you guys are able to avoid that too many chefs in the kitchen concept. How is that working for you guys?
I mean, there's a head coach that, obviously is going to have the final say in everything we do, but that's the same on offense and defense and special teams. That's my job, to make sure that we're doing things that we feel like can help us. And from everything that I've seen, that there's been support there, and Jim's coaching the inside linebackers, and Jim Schwartz is trying to help us throughout the entire defense, and have communication with myself and Shane and the entire staff. And, I think the one thing that everybody has to realize is that there's going to be disagreements, right? Disagreements between John Robinson and myself, and we have conversations about them, and we communicate. And when you leave a meeting, you have to all be on the same page when you go and give a message to the players, and that's what's most important, and that's what's critical, and that's what's happened, and that's what will continue to happen.
Thank you.
John Glennon.
Hey, Mike. Interested in you guys given a tryout to Hassan French. I guess it's probably similar to Adam Kuhn in some ways, but what do you like about a guy with that kind of potential athletically, and at the same time, is it a bit of a challenge trying to teach a guy, while you're trying to go through kind of a mini camp with, more of the veteran players?
I guess similar that one played basketball and one wrestled, but other than that, no, you're looking for athletes, John. You're looking for guys that learn, and you understand that he may not know as much as the rest of these guys that have been here or have played football in college and are trying to make this transition to the National Football League. But can they pick things up quickly? Do they improve from drill to drill? Will they improve tomorrow? What kind of concepts can they grasp? And do they have a willingness to play a collision sport like football, play it at the level in which we feel like is important with great effort and finish.
Corey Curtis.
Coach, you talked about not waiting for anybody for minicamp. Elijah Molden didn't get any of the OTAs or rookie camp. How did he handle his first day out there? Were you happy with his ability?
Well, he's been out there in some capacity throughout some of the OTAs. So it's not like this was his first day. And, he continues to learn and develop and study. So we'll keep working with them and put a lot on their plate, see what they can handle and see what they can retain when we come back to training camp.
Ben Arthur.
Hey, Mike, how has Caleb Farley been doing with his rehab behind the scenes, and just how has he been transitioning? Transitioning as you guys, head into mini camp.
Transitioning in what regard, Ben? I don't know where he's transitioning to.
What I meant was just how has he been doing just with rehab as you guys transition into mini camp?
Yeah, it's no different than for Caleb or Bud or Taylor or any of those guys that weren't out there. We asked them to work as hard at getting back as those guys that are out there on the field. And we have a specific plan for everybody and their individual and what they need and what they do with our relationship with Todd and Frank and how we work together between the training staff and the coaching staff and the strength staff. We feel confident in each of their plan. Caleb is somebody that I enjoy coaching and being able to watch him do the rookie walkthroughs that we have, the rookie walkthrough 7-on-7s. He's grasping the knowledge and what we're asking him to do, and he's working hard. He's working hard to get back to be back with his teammates. But I'd say everything has been positive, in what role that we've asked him to perform.
Steve Lehman.
Hey, Mike, we got our first look today at Janoris Jenkins. He seemed to be an aggressive guy out there. How much does his skill set fit into what you want your cornerbacks and DBs to play like, and how much can he be sort of a teacher on the field as some of these younger guys do get more reps?
Well, I think what we want our DBs to do is not let their man catch the ball in man coverage and play with great vision and break in zone coverage. That's what we want them to do. Janoris has shown that throughout his career. Love his energy as a player. It's fun to coach. Smile on his face, and he loves football. I think that guys that have done it at a high level in this league, are great resources for younger players, for coaches to have conversations with and try to help. And I think Janoris would be certainly one of those guys.
Couple of follows. Jim Wyatt.
Like we talked to Bud Dupree, we're going to talk to Bud Dupree today for the first time since he signed. How's he been since he's been with the club from a rehab standpoint, a Zoom standpoint, and just as he prepares for 2021 season?
I would say everything that I said about Caleb Farley, Jim, that you could say about Bud. He's a professional. I know Caleb's a rookie, but Bud is a professional. He communicates well, communicates with Todd about where he's at with his rehab and his therapist. And then when he's here, he communicates with me. That's been the biggest thing that we ask these guys to do, is to communicate. And then now working here with the group, been engaged in meetings and He's working hard and doing everything we asked him to do.
Glennon.
Yeah, Mike, how much different is it from last year in terms of being able to get, kind of hands-on work with these guys as opposed to the COVID situation last year? And maybe, not only for you, but maybe for like a guy who was a new coach last year, like Jim Haslett, who never really got to see his guys during the off season.
Jim's coached a lot of years, so we had a lot of training camp practices. It's good to be around players. It's good to have team meetings and be able to talk to these guys and ask them direct questions and continue to coach them. It's why we do what we do. We want to win championships. We want to win, but it's also making connections with our players so that we can coach them and try to improve what they do on the field and how they live their life off of it.
Two more. Paul.
How much has a guy like Bud been able to do in terms of kind of establishing his place among the guys, or does he just need to be patient and wait for?
I don't know. I think that'd be a great question for the guys or for Bud. I have a relationship with Bud, so I couldn't comment on his relationship with anybody else.
About his role, though, in terms of leading the way or showing people stuff, or you talked about the veteran guys kind of being models for the younger guys and resources for the coaches.
Sure, they have conversations. When Bud's out there, his role will change. Right now, his role is to get as healthy as he possibly can and be ready to go. Continue to work hard. What his role is in the field right now hasn't been defined.
Last question, Teresa.
Mike, the schedule this week, right now it looks like you're on the field again tomorrow. Thursday, you're the only one scheduled to talk to us. Have you changed the schedule of minicamp? Is it just 2 days? And if so, is that just a reflection of how much work you've been able to do in a very, getting back to an off season after not having one last year?
We're just not going to practice. We're not going to be out there practicing. We'll be in here working, but we won't be in here practicing.
That was Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's press conference minicamp. We will break down what we heard from Vrabel in pure Vrabel form next. The 2 p.m. hour, 615 Day, is presented by Social Furniture. The 2 p.m. hour presented by Steadfast and True Yoga. Steadfast and True Yoga invite you to join their friendly, open, and supportive community. Use code 615Day now through July 1st to receive 10% off a class package or drop-in class. Go to steadfastandtrueyoga.com. Now, Stillman and Company, live from the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game. Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving, 615 Day. We are live at Ford Ice Center in Bellevue, presented by Social Furniture, the 3 p.m. hour of 615 Day, presented by Martin's Barbecue. Martin's Barbecue Joint is now hiring at their downtown location on 4th Avenue South. You can apply at martinsbarbecuejoint.com/jobs. Twitter at martinsbbq. Ryan Tannehill is live with the media after minicamp.
Advantage of as we move forward, but to have some familiar faces in front of me is a great feeling.
Steve Lehman.
Ryan, considering all the new faces that are in your receiver room right now, how important have these OTAs and specifically now this week where it's a little bit more full speed out there? How important can these couple of days be to help you all get on the same page as you move towards training camp?
Yeah, just, as guys become more involved in what we're doing and guys get healthier, new additions, that'll be the real test for us as we head into training camp. Being able to come back full speed and get on the same page quickly with all the different things that we like to do in this offense is going to be crucial for us. So I don't know if these last couple of days are any more full speed. It's pretty much the same schedule as we've been having, but we got to take advantage of the time that we do have, no doubt about it.
A real quick follow on that, the rookies, McMath and Fitzpatrick, have you been around them enough to get a feel for what kind of receivers they are and how do they look to you?
Those guys are working. They're doing what we asked them to do, going out there and working every day. Seeing them doing some good things, but it's a long road ahead of them, and they just have to keep their heads down and keep working.
Circling back to Paul.
Sorry for the internet difficulties. You guys have a ton of big receivers, Ryan, with Julio coming in now. Your top three guys, big. A lot of the depth is big. Do you have a propensity for big wide receivers, and what are the advantages beyond the obvious of having so much length?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of benefits to having a big target. You get range, bigger catching radius. They can use their bodies to create separation. If it's tight coverage, you have more space to throw it away from a defender, and they'll still be able to make a play on it. So, John and Coach Vrabel have done a great job of getting guys that kind of fit the way we like to play. Obviously, tough, physical. We're going to ask our receivers to block, and being big helps all of that. So, excited for the room that we have, and it'll be fun to see those guys work. As we get through training camp, and how that room ends up will be exciting.
Thanks.
Ron.
Yeah, Ryan, the other day in practice, saw you just kind of talk to Julio Jones after one of the reps. I wanted to ask you just how that conversation, that communication is going, just as far as you and him getting on the same page, as you mentioned before.
Yeah, it's going to take hundreds of those little small communications, throughout training camp, throughout now up until, even throughout the season. It's just got constant communication, fine-tuning things, making sure that we're seeing things the same way. I'm going to communicate with him how I see certain plays, certain routes against maybe a low hip coverage or a high hip coverage, and where I expect the ball to be on all those different types of things. So it's going to be a learning process. There's going to be a lot we're going to have to cover from now until the first game, but it'll be a learning process for both of us, and I'm looking forward to it.
And you like to, do the layup at the finger roll as your TD celebration. So I'll make a basketball reference. How much you looking forward to kind of being a point guard for this Shaq and Kobe or Mike and Scotty kind of tandem that you have at receiver?
Basketball reference. I'm excited. I know what we have in AJ, and obviously, what Julio brings to the table. I've seen, big things out of him, his whole career. So that's all exciting. But at the end of the day, we have to get on the same page here this year, and make sure we're doing everything we can to go out and make plays on Sunday. So, a ton of quote unquote potential, but at this point, potential doesn't really get you a whole lot. You have to put the work in, put the time in, and ultimately go out and make the plays on Sundays.
Thank you. A couple more for Ryan. Teresa.
Ryan, to kind of follow up on that, this offense last year was so productive. You've got Derek back as well. Is that the key to making sure that this offense can build and take advantage of all these weapons that you have? And how much fun do you have looking at what you're going to be working with this year?
You're saying having Derek back, that's the
Well, having Derek, having AJ, adding Julio, all these pieces, you now have so many options. It seems like, does that make your job easier or harder?
Well, definitely makes our offense, you know, where you can't just focus in on one person or one aspect of it. I think that's the key to a good offense, is being able to threaten the defense and put pressure on the defense in multiple areas and multiple facets. So, on paper, we have some guys that will be able to do that. At this point, it's just about us, like I said, just continue to work and get ready. That way that we can make it a reality on Sundays.
Yeah, Ryan, we asked you a lot about your new offensive teammates, but obviously there's some new faces on the defensive side of the ball. You've faced them, I'm sure, at certain points in your career. What have your observations been with getting to know them, working against them, and interacting with them in meeting rooms and such?
Yeah, it's been fun meeting some of the new guys we got on defense. I get excited anytime I get to meet quality players that I've played against or watched play, and get to join and play with them. And it's something special that I don't take for granted. So, a guy like Bud Dupree, who I have a ton of respect for, just playing against him and the way he plays the game on a weekly basis with tenacity in the run and the pass game, rushing the passer, man. It's been fun to watch him. So, hopefully he can continue to do the same thing for us.
Last question, Glennon.
Yeah, Ryan, touching back on the size of the wide receivers. I know back in the day, you yourself were obviously a big wide receiver. I wonder if, in addition to some of the advantages, are there some challenges that come with being a bigger guy, a bigger wide receiver out there too?
I mean, it just depends on the guy. Physics wise, right? It's a little bit tougher to transition when you're bigger. But some guys, I've seen some really big guys who have amazing transition and can transition just as fast as anybody. So it's really a person by person basis and whatever each guy's skill set is. But on the whole, we have to just take advantage of each person's individual skill set, try to bring out the best things that they do, and ultimately help us make plays.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
There you go, Ryan Tannehill with his post-practice press conference. We'll have more press conferences to get to, and we'll do that. But Tannehill equally as boring as Vrabel. I have been writing down, Caroline, what these guys say. One meaningful thing that I didn't hear. So we'll get to that as well. 615-737-1025, 615, they presented by Social Furniture. We are here at Ford Ice Center, Bellevue. Again, they got the party out in the parking lot. I think that just wrapped up. But again, we are raising a bunch of money for the Boys and Girls Club at the silent auction. Text PREDS to 76278. Items include a Pekka Rinne and Philip Forsberg signed jersey, Predators team signed stick, signed Titans photo, signed Tim Corbin and Vandy baseball memorabilia, and a signed Mookie Betts baseball. So get excited about that. The 3 p.m. hour is presented by our friends at Martin's Barbecue. Martin's Barbecue is hiring at their downtown location on 4th Avenue South. You can apply at martinsbarbecuejoint.com/jobs. Stillman and Company, we're live from the wholesaling studio powered by RumbleOn.com. Let me tell you about the FanDuel Sportsbook app and Dinger Tuesdays. I almost got excited because I saw that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit a home run yesterday, and I was talking about him for Dinger Tuesday, and then I remembered that yesterday was not a Tuesday. So today is Dinger Tuesday.
It's really just a mindset.
It is a mindset. You got to pick on Dinger Tuesday who you want to go with at the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Again, FanDuel Sportsbook, it's my official sportsbook app, and they want you to take in Dinger Tuesday. Today, again, take any player that you want, and they hit a home run, boom, it's Dinger Tuesday. I absolutely love Dinger Tuesday, and I love how they take great care of all of us with, again, all of your betting needs right there on the FanDuel Sportsbook app or anything baseball related, all kinds of games. Again, for Dinger Tuesday, it's live every Tuesday, $5, place a $25 plus wager on any player to hit a home run and get a $5 bonus and site credit for every home run that player hits in the game. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code JGM to get in on all the action. That's FanDuel Sportsbook promo code JGM. And since Guerrero hit one, I don't want to use the same guy again, I'm going to go with Tatis Jr. today. to hit the home run. Must be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only for risk-free bet. Refund and bonus issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max bonus $25 per game. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Titans are wrapping up their first of 2 mandatory mini camp practices. They'll have one tomorrow. We are live at 615 Day, presented by Social Furniture, located in West Nashville at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue, where we are raising a bunch of money for the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee today. This hour of the program is presented by our friends at Martin's Barbecue. Martin's Barbecue Joint is now hiring at their downtown location on 4th Avenue South. You can apply at martinsbarbecuejoint.com/jobs. Bud Dupree is talking with the Nashville media after minicamp.
With you as a part of it?
Oh, definitely. Everyone on the team, man, the whole defense, man, I feel like the unit is a good unit. It just comes with work and dedication. We put our hard hats on, man. We come in every day. Those guys obviously are already on the field, but I'm still putting my hard hat on in the rehab room, in the training room, to make sure that I'm not, once I get back on the field, I'm not falling behind. And so, man, that's just part of it. We all want to be good players. That's why we're in the NFL. And all it takes is people to understand and realize how good they can be, man. You just got to push for the effort day in and day out, and you can make it to that standpoint.
A couple more for you, Bud. Emily?
Yeah, Bud, when we talk to some of the returners on defense, the common theme is obviously last year not good enough, and they're feeling kind of that sense of urgency and the need to be better than last year. Do you feel that sense of urgency and that extra focus this offseason on defense?
Yeah, well, I can't even. I really can't even tell. Just being around them. Being in meetings is different from being on the field. Being in meetings is different from being on the field, as far as feeling the urgency, like you said. Feeling the real pressure that's built up from those guys who was here last year. The chip on their shoulder is different from guys who are just getting here. It's a whole different stature of work that they've been through over the years. The pain, the hard work, the dedication, the time that they put into it. So their chip on their shoulder is very different from the guys who are just getting here. The guys who are just getting here, man, we were trying to come in and get on the hopping, rolling train and make our presence known as much as we can by making the best impact that we can. And, not going out and disrespecting none of the guys who've been here before us, but bringing those guys up, helping the guys as much as we can. Continue to be ourselves in this new atmosphere. That's the key. I feel like we got to continue to be ourselves, who were the player that we were, the players that got us here for the new guys, and continue to get better and better each day, man. And once we link with those guys and everybody has the same goal and the same vision, and then that's when the unit will mold together.
2 more for Bud, and then we have Roger ready. Paul?
Bud, we just met Ryan Crow really for the first time in terms of hearing from him the other day.
Yeah.
What are your impressions of a young first-time position coach and what that dynamic will be like with you and with the group?
Man, it's great. It's his first time coaching, so he's gonna come out when trying to be have his first year with a bang. He's very detail oriented with us. He goes over the things that we overlook. He's trying to make sure that we emphasize those things, the small things, the fundamental things of the game, the things that we learned in high school, bring it back up. He's taking pride in actually being a coach, man, and wanting to get guys better. And that's all you can ask for, man. Just continue to be real like he is. Even though it's his first time, man, he got a lot of great players in the room that can help him out. And I'm excited for him. I'm excited to play. I'm just as much excited to play for him than I know he is excited to coach us.
Last question, Jim Wyatt.
And Bud, this team has kind of changed since you first came aboard. I think you were maybe the first signing, and then Danico's come aboard, Janoris has come aboard. You got a new draft class that's heavy on defense, and then other side of the ball, you get Julio Jones last week, Josh Reynolds. What's it been like kind of seeing all these additions to now your new team, and what's your overall thought about it?
Man, it's exciting. It's exciting, but now we just got to go out and put that work in, man, and then show the world the finished product. Now it's the time to grind. Our season is the time to grind. Training camp is the time to grind. The beginning of the season is the time to grind. But at the end of the day, man, everyone wants to be at that last. Put in the effort, put in the work. put in the dedication, and it starts now, man. And like you said, it's a great group of guys that came in with an already great team, and we all are excited, but we got to go put the work in.
Thank you, bud. Appreciate it.
All right, so appreciate you.
That's Titans outside linebacker Bud Dupree. And as Ian said, he likes Bud Dupree. Roger Saffold is coming up next. We'll get to Roger Saffold when he is ready to go as Titan minicamp is rolling along. So the one thing, and Ian, you just let me know in my ear when Roger Saffold's up there. The one thing I listened to Vrabel, I listened to Handel. Dupree probably said more honestly than the other two did. At least he was like excited to talk. The Vrabel thing was he was asked a question by TD about having Shane Bowen, Jim Haslett, Jim Schwartz, and Mike Vrabel all together in one room.
Mm-hmm.
Vrabel was like, well, I'm the head coach, and it's the job of the head coach to decide what the team does, and didn't say anything like, well, Shane's the one in charge. Now here's Roger Saffold.
Largely, you guys kept the offensive line intact throughout the course of this offseason. What's it like to be able to continue to build upon the strength of this team right now with the offensive line, the running game, heading into this mandatory minicamp?
It feels good. Of course, we don't want to use our chemistry and our success as a crutch. What we're trying to do is just continue to focus on the fundamentals, the little details. Trying to make those better so that we can, together be a great unit.
Paul.
Hey, Roger. Wondering what your sense of Taylor is right now. Obviously, missed the first 4 2 years ago. Season came crashing down with the ACL last year. We haven't had a chance to talk to him. I'm not asking you to speak for him, but I imagine he's pretty eager to get out there for all 17 and kind of not be a story in terms of not being out there.
Of course, I think that he wouldn't be here if he wasn't eager to come back after all the adversity that he had to go through these last couple of years. You guys know Taylor. Taylor's going to work hard. He's going to work his butt off to do the best that he can. He's doing everything that he can in rehab. We leave it there. We let him come at his own pace, and when he's ready to go, we're going to be right there with him. Just great to have him in the building, being able to talk to him, get that personality day after day. And, he's just a pleasure to be around. So right now it's just all about, hey, letting him do his thing and getting back to us as soon as he can.
Corey Curtis.
Sorry, Roger. Obviously, there was a lot of uncertainty this offseason with the salary cap changes and teams trying to get under that cap. I know you guys lost Dennis, but largely you're intact. And how important is that moving forward?
It's great. I mean, I have a family to take care of. I have things that I need to do. But at the end of the day, I'm all about this team. And, I have to be able to trust the job that both Coach Vrabel and J-Rob do. So I have to be able to trust that. The greatest part about this game is that, even though a lot of these players leave teams, they never truly go away. So we always see them. We always end up getting in touch with them and getting back together. So, the best thing to do is just to tell, the guys that had to go that you love them and, if you ever need anything, just to call you. So Dennis is not truly out of the picture with all of us. But, I'm really liking the way this team is moving forward. And like I said, you just got to trust these guys to do their job.
Jim Wyatt.
Roger, when you kind of reflected back on 2020, what kind of went through your mind, from a personal standpoint and from a team standpoint, and what's kind of mindset for you as you head into, what is this, year 12 now?
My mindset last year was just, trying to start fast. I just really wanted to be able to help this team be able to win games right away. Of course, with the COVID adversity that really threw a wrench into everything that we were doing. But, we had to continue to push forward. I had some tough things going on in my personal life, which was another reason why I was already in that move forward mentality. And I was happy that I was able to come in every day with a positive attitude and working and trying to be a leader
in the midst of some of the things I was dealing with. This year it's more about continuing to just, show that leadership role, but also just to improve the way that my coaches want to teach me this game. And I'm doing so much better learning the terminology. I'm doing so much better spitting back the answers that they want to hear with their terminology. And I'm happy to be able to constantly fine tune my craft to the way that they teach me. So I feel like I'm coming along in a lot of different areas, and I just want to be able to improve this year and help this team get our goal of winning a championship.
John Glennon.
Roger, I wonder if you could talk about some of the you've seen. What have your impressions been of Dylan? And have you talked to him? I guess he's getting some reps both in and out. Have you talked to him about guard at all? And then the other one, Adam Kuhn, the wrestler. I wonder if you've ever gone through any kind of a situation like that with a guy who hasn't even played college football, and what's that like trying to help teach a guy like that?
Just with Dylan. Dylan's working hard. He's not saying much of anything. He's just putting his head down and going to work. Everything's yes or no, sir, with him, which I really do like. It's not enough to tell exactly what he can do right now, especially in practice when mostly what we do is the individual drills with some jog through. But that's why it's great that this camp will be able to have some preseason games. We'll be able to see him go against some other people throughout the year. We're showing that he's versatile, being able to play a few different positions early on, which is really good. But, of course, we're excited about him, but he has to constantly prove himself, which, if he continues working the way that he is, he should be able to. As far as the wrestler's concerned, what's his name? I haven't, I don't know everybody's name just yet. But the fact that he's out here shows that, he wants to be here. I see him working on drills off to the side, just constantly trying to learn. He seems that he has a good attitude, very critical of himself, which are good qualities to have as an offensive lineman. Humility is one of the biggest things you need to have when you enter into the NFL. And luckily we have a lot of kids that are doing that.
Teresa.
Roger, you've shared some videos of your off-season workouts with weights. As an NFL player and a teammate of Derek's, when you see some of the videos and some of the things that he's doing in the off-season to get ready, what are your thoughts? I mean, the one with the chain on his neck and feet on the ball, what are your thoughts when you see these things that he's pushing himself?
I think that it's a competition almost. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what you're doing. Okay, well, I'm gonna put 2 chains on, or it's like, hey, I see him squatting 450 pounds, doing box squats. So now I got to do a 650 box squat. It's like those types of situations. We used to always joke about who had the bigger biceps, and luckily I've won every time. But the thing about it is that that Derek is always going to work hard. You in turn want to work hard. I think that the team mentality is just that blue collar, just want to work, hit you in the face type of team. So I'm starting to see that with everybody. And the fact that this year I was able to bring Nate along with me out there in California where we train together and seeing his growth, it just makes me excited about the future. Of course, I can't tell the future, but the work that you put in is usually what you're going to get out when it comes to the season.
Steve Lehman.
Roger, I'm just curious, when the Julio Jones signing was made public, if you and the other offensive linemen, did like a touchdown celebration or something, because you're probably going to see fewer 9-man boxes moving forward this year.
That's funny. I absolutely talked about that. I was like, yes. But, honestly, I really thought that J-Rob got that for my birthday because, my birthday was on June 6th. We got him on June 6th. So I really thought it was for me. So, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you to everybody for your birthday wishes along with Julio Jones. So I appreciate that.
Buck.
Yeah, Rob. It's just kind of to Nate Davis. I mean, how big a difference have you seen in him from the player that got here as a 3rd-round pick out of Charlotte, and the maturation process, the technique that he's been able to develop? It seems like 9 days.
Yeah, they say that the biggest jump that you make in your career is from year 1 to year 2. You take away OTAs from a man, it's going to be a little bit tougher to watch how much he can improve. I think that he's um, been learning more and more, especially talking to me, talking to Ben Jones. We've been able to help him with seeing things and having experience. And he did a great job from year 1 to year 2. From now on, it's like, all right, how can I get better? You have to like almost research yourself. And I think that he was looking at himself. He's been listening to Keith. He's been listening to me. And now it's time for him to make his own decisions on what he can do to make Nate Davis better. And when we see him play this year, I know he's going to do well. Like, I mean, you know that he's going to do well because he's got us. We all got each other's back. We're all been together for so long, and we're always going to keep fine tuning each other. And keeping each other accountable to play this game well.
Last two for Roger. Jim Wyatt.
And Roger, another receiver team got this offseason. Josh Reynolds, you know him from your days with the Rams. What's that like being kind of reunited with him, a guy like him, and what does he bring to the team?
Oh, I love it. I love it. The thing that's great about our wide receiver core is having a few guys that are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", that are very lengthy, very athletic. Having Josh on the team is great just to see another familiar face. Also being able to have conversations about guys that we know back home. And then just his ability, his athleticism, and like I said, just his length is going to be true values for the team. I mean, having 3 guys out there, 3 big wide receivers out there, just chances go up. 50-50 balls end up going to us, which you love to see. And once again, it helps just open up that running game, which is our first love as an offensive lineman.
Last question, John Glennon.
Hey, Roger, I'm curious how much vaccination talk there is among the team, the guys in general, and maybe I don't know what your choice was, but maybe if you could just maybe talk about your thought process on the vaccination situation and what kind of going through your mind as you wanted to make up your mind one way or the other.
I can't speak on the entire NFL, but I know for this team, we've been trying to be as informative as possible. Nobody has been forced. Everybody has been given the option. It's all about safety for yourself, safety for your family, and they've given us choices on which vaccination we can choose. That's all that you can look for out of your club. For me personally, I'm kind of on the fence, constantly doing research, and sometimes there's so much information out there, it's hard to choose. But for me, I'm kind of leaning towards doing the vaccination just so I could be a lot freer with my teammates, be able to visit family, and not have to deal with some of those restrictions that come along with not being vaccinated.
One last quick follow, Jim.
And Roger, kind of on a lighter note, you kind of regard as a pretty sharp dressed guy. What did you think about Taylor's suit that he showed up for at the CMA award?
Hey man, you guys remember that first game suit I came out in, man. But no, he was sharp, man. He was sharp, and I'm always going to support my teammates because I feel like I got some of the best teammates in the world, man. So excited for him. And I'm excited to see what these guys can put together because I know some people struggled on their first year. I won't name no names, Nate Davis, but that's okay. All right, we're going to keep working on that. We're going to keep getting better.
Thanks, Raj. Appreciate it.
That was Roger Saffold at Titans minicamp. So we heard from Vrabel, Tannehill, Bud Dupree, Saffold, 615-737-1025. What we heard from them we'll discuss next. And Joe Rexrode will join us at 3:45. So in 10 minutes, Joe will join us because Joe was at minicamp, so he'll tell us what he saw on the field. 615-737-1025. It's a NASCAR weekend in Nashville. Be sure to get your tickets for Saturday and Sunday as tickets are going fast. Kids 12 and under get in free Friday and Saturday, plus experience the post-race fireworks Friday night. RV camping for NASCAR weekend still available. For more info, go to NashvilleSuperspeedway.com. Be sure to tune in to the Alley 400 NASCAR Cup Series race, broadcasted this Sunday on 102.5 The Game. Coverage at 1:30, and the race begins at 2:30. Stillman and Company live from 615 Day, presented by Social Furniture at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue with our friends at the Nashville Predators. It's ESPN 1025 The Game, and we're streaming on the Game Nashville app. Stillman and Company, Joe Rexroad to join us in 5 minutes. So we got to run quickly on this one. We are live here at 615 Day, presented by Social Furniture. We are located at the Ford Ice Center, Bellevue. You can register to win a Social Furniture recliner while we're here. And again, raising money for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. What did you take away, Caroline Fenton, from today's press conferences after minicamp? Vrabel, Tannehill, Dupree, and Saffold.
Well, I think we kind of got what we expected from Vrabel and Tannehill, and that was a whole bunch of nothing, a whole bunch of just coach speak, and didn't really move the needle much. Roger Saffold commented on Dylan Radin, said, he's working, he's learning, he's got a great attitude. It's yes or no, sir. He's working really hard. Same kind of things people are saying about Elijah Moore and calling him a generational talent for the New York Jets. They're rookies. They show up and they work hard. That's what they should do. That's what we're expected to do. So, Bud Dupree sounds like he's in a great position with the defense. Just kind of what I expected to get from a minicamp press conference.
So, to me, Vrabel's in fine form. But again, wouldn't really, prop Bowen up. And we can get to this, more so later. But he didn't prop Shane Bowen up when asked about having Bowen, Jim Haslett, Jim Schwartz, and himself, 4 former defensive coordinators, 3 former head coaches, or I guess Vrabel's a current head coach, 3 head coaches in the same room. I was a little surprised. That's it. Other than that, Vrabel didn't reveal anything. Tannehill didn't really tell you much. I mean, I guess the most noteworthy, Saffold said he's on the fence about the vaccine, and I'm not sure. Again, I'm not going to break down each guy's individual choice or whatever you want to call it. When he says he's doing a lot of research, I wonder what that means. I mean, I would say this. You got a team doctor. He's probably telling you to take it. You have the chief medical officer of the NFLPA. He's telling you to take it.
Right.
The chief medical officer of the NFL is also a doctor, lives in Nashville. I'm sure he's telling you to take it. And I'm sure if you call the team doctor from the Rams when you played on them, my guess is, I could be wrong,
They'd probably say take it.
he's probably saying take it. So that's what we got from that. Joe Rexroad was on the practice field. What did he see at minicamp today? That's next. Stillman and Company right here, ESPN 102.5 The Game. This hour of 615 Day is presented by Martin's Barbecue. Martin's Barbecue Joint is now hiring at their downtown location on 4th Avenue South. You can apply at martinsbarbecuejoint.com, martinsbbqjoint.com/jobs. Twitter at martinsbbq. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game. Live from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, 615 Day is presented by Social Furniture. We're raising money for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. Silent auction. Text PREDS to 76278. Did you get that?
26278.
Nope.
Nope.
76.
Oh, 76278.
278.
There we go.
Joe Rexrode was at Titans minicamp today. As we said today, the really only thing that matters about minicamp deep down inside is if something bad happens.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe Rexrode joins us now on the program. Joe, let's start with this. Did anything bad happen today at Titans minicamp?
No, nothing bad happened. There were a couple absences I didn't necessarily expect. I wasn't sure, will A.J. Brown be out there? I mean, he was out watching the OTAs last week, but he was not out there. And Christian Fulton, the guy who was out there last week, not today. So there's the one sort of, I guess, guy, that you certainly would not have penciled in as being out. But other than that, pretty much nothing too unexpected on that front. And no, now, I will say there was a moment the quarterbacks were just kind of it was kind of an in-between period. I think they were doing special team stuff. And they were throwing. Julio Jones was kind of standing in the corner, and they were throwing passes to him, the different quarterbacks were, and he reached up to get one and landed hard on his butt. And I swear that all the reporters there, stopped in dead silence for a minute, thinking maybe something bad did happen, but he seems fine.
Okay, so when you say that Christian Fulton was out, do you mean that just he wasn't out on the field, but we assume that he was there, or is Christian Fulton missing mandatory minicamp?
Well, he wasn't out on the field, and again, he was at OTAs, so that tells me that he's probably got something that's bothering him injury-wise. I mean, it doesn't make sense for a dude to go to OTAs and all of a sudden he doesn't go to mandatory, right? I mean, Christian Fulton is going to be out there, I think, if he's physically capable. So yes, I expect that he has some kind of injury. There are a few guys, working in the room. The only one that I caught for sure as I walked past was Caleb Farley, working hard, with the strength coach as practice went on. But I didn't see who else was in there. I would be willing to bet Christian Fulton was one of them.
Who looked good today and why, Joe?
Am I allowed to say Julio Jones, or I should probably mix it up, right?
What I tell you? What did I tell you, Caroline? Was going to come out of this today was, Julio and Tannehill, they caught a bunch of passes today. Go ahead, Joe.
No, who stood out? Well, I will say, right tackle is an interesting situation, and it's very, very limited. Of course, there's no run game right now, but when it's team against team, you can see certain guys just trying to move their feet against guys. And I actually did. I watched Dylan Radunz closely when he got out there, and he's kind of alternating with Kendall Lamb, and I think he had Landry. He was dealing with Landry a few times, and I thought he looked pretty good moving his feet. What does that mean? With no full pads, without actual football being played? I mean, it doesn't mean a ton, but he looks pretty agile, and that he's got a good sort of, pass protection set to him. The guy was drafted in the second round. He's been a left tackle his entire college career. So this is nothing terribly surprising, but I did watch him whenever I had a chance. Another guy who you couldn't help but notice is Janoris Jenkins. He's definitely going to be like the new Malcolm Butler, in terms of aggressive and vocal and all these things in practice, which, hey, I mean, it brings energy to the practice. I mean, I think the Titans are going to miss that with Malcolm Butler. I think Janoris Jenkins steps in nicely to kind of fill that void. I mean, they're doing these, again, it's kind of like 7-on-7 stuff and different kind of team drills and passing drills, and there's no hitting. But I would say he put a pretty good hit on one of the guys down the roster at running back, Sargent. And I was like, geez, that's quite some contact for a drill like that. But in general, very aggressive, and he's out there getting after it and being physical and working hard. So, I mean, you notice him for sure. I'm trying to think, Derrick Henry. I mean, again, I hate to be obvious. Derrick Henry, working hard on catching the ball and doing some stuff to the side with Tony Dews, the running backs coach, and working on routes, working on change of direction, working on catching the ball. I mean, he's trying to keep expanding that game, man.
Who looked bad?
Who looked bad? Well, I will say that. Well, first of all, I would say on the backup quarterback front, I would say Logan Woodside, to me, looked better than Deshaun Kaiser.
Darn.
I think. What's that?
I said, darn. I'm rooting for Kaiser. We're on the same celebrity softball team, and I like Kaiser, so I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, Kaiser last week and here. I mean, he's got to look off. He's got to go down the route progression better than he is. I would say that. Who looked bad? I don't know that anybody totally stood out as looking bad. I mean, I can't think of anyone just totally getting toasted. Julio Jones didn't do a ton in the team stuff. He was out there a fair amount. I don't know. That'd be I would say, the gap. If you want to talk about gaps at positions and depth, again, whether it's Woodside, whether it's Kaiser, boy, is there a gap between the starter and those guys. I mean, that's just how it's going to be.
Joe Rexrode with us. He was at Titans minicamp, one of 2 practices for the mandatory minicamp. Joe, the corner position, you brought up Jenkins. You said Fulton's out. We know Farley's out. Who else kind of made an impression at that position for you today?
Yeah, and so and they rotate a lot of different guys in there. Chris Jackson's in there, Breon Borders in there, Greg Mabin's out there. But certainly, you notice Elijah Molden. Just his speed, his quickness, his change of direction. He looks like a player, and we'll see. Like, I can't think of anything he did, especially when I was paying attention to him, especially good or bad. But even just watching him in the individuals and stuff, and of course, I think his first time out was the last OTA last week. He looks as advertised. I think he's going to be a key guy. But yeah, a lot of those guys rotating in there. I would say, again, Chris Jackson, kind of a guy you forget about. He's the other rookie from last year. He was forced into a ton of action last year. I feel like he looks like a guy who very much knows what's going on. He's a guy who cannot afford to not know every last detail you can know about this defense. And I feel like he is that guy. I feel like he's maximizing what he can do. That still makes him a depth guy on this defense. But, I will say that he's someone I haven't thought about much, but it's probably a guy who's going to make the team as a depth piece. And, even Borders, I mean, those guys you can do worse where they're supposed to be on the depth chart. The question for me is the guys who are supposed to be ahead of them, what the heck are you going to get? What the heck are you going to get from Caleb Farley? And I mean, I think Fulton is going to be one of the key guys on this team this year. And it is too bad that he's not out for this, because he could probably use every rep he can get.
Joe Rexrode with us. 3 receivers, your thoughts on them. Dez Fitzpatrick. I take that back. 2. Dez Fitzpatrick, Josh Reynolds. What'd you see today?
Nothing that to me was, especially. I mean, you got to remember, some of these things, they're even, it's not even a pass comes out after it. They're looking at everything, and they're not so not a ton. I'm hoping we get to see a little bit more of DBs against receivers. That just wasn't a huge part of it today. But in general, I mean, I thought Reynolds, another guy who came on late last week and was out there. He's good size, moves well. Fitzpatrick, again, it's amazing how huge they are at receiver now. It's so different. And the guy who really, the guy that I can't stop watching, who I'm really interested to see what happens with him, is Racey McMath. Just because he's so big. He's almost like a hybrid receiver tight end. Maybe it's because he's wearing 81, and I keep thinking of Johnny Smith, but he is so big. And he can run, and I think he looks pretty good, doing the various duties a receiver does. He's an interesting guy, at that place at LSU in that program. I mean, who the heck is he playing over when he's playing in that program? Before this year, so he's really an interesting one to watch. He's going to have to be great on special teams, but at receiver, of course, as I said, A.J. Brown. And also Nick Westbrook Akina is also not out there. And I think he was one of those guys, working out. So a guy who also could certainly use reps and will be in that mix.
Interesting. Joe Rexroad from Titan Minicamp. Joe, appreciate you and appreciate the things that you couldn't tell us and you didn't tell us.
Yeah, did I toe the line there? I mean, I think I was fairly, I stayed within the rules.
Well, I don't want to get you in trouble, but I do think there was one thing that maybe you kind of let out of the bag, but I'm going to let them figure that out, not you or me. So there you go.
Okay, text me so I know.
I will. Appreciate you, Joe.
All right, see ya.
Yep. So Joe Rexroad's takeaways, who looks good, and he said he wanted to say Julio Jones or Derrick Henry. Then he brought up Dylan Radins. But he brought up Dylan Radins.
Yeah.
So I can be okay with that one. Who looked bad? He didn't really say anybody, honestly.
Woodside better than Kaiser.
I mean, the backup quarterbacks on this team.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry was working hard catching the football. That is at least worth discussing because I don't think they want Derrick Henry to catch the ball, but I think they need Derrick Henry to catch the ball at some point. Brought up the corner position. Chris Jackson and Breon Borders right now, again, they're out there, you would assume, because Farley and Fulton are not. He brought up Elijah Molden, so he liked Elijah Molden. He liked Janoris Jenkins. The other guy, I mean, Floyd thought that Chris Jackson was a safety. So, when Chris Jackson was playing corner last year, he's like, yeah, he's a safety. And I'm like, but he's starting at corner. And he goes, yeah, he's a safety. So, I mean, I think Chris Jackson, and this is just my personal opinion, I think there's a spot for Chris Jackson on this team, kind of in that Amani Hooker role, with Amani Hooker moving to starting safety. I think Jackson maybe fills that role of the hybrid safety corner kind of guy who's in your dime package. But he right now is having to play outside because you don't know who else you got. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We are live again from Ford Ice Center, Bellevue. Today is 615 Day presented by Social Furniture. We're raising money for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. Donate to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. Text FUTURE to 707070. Did you get that?
7070, and I believe one more 70.
There you go, 707070. Text FUTURE for your opportunity there. And then we've got a silent auction. Text PREDS to 76278. Items include a Pekka Rinne and Philip Forsberg signed jersey, Predators team signed stick, signed Titans photo, signed Tim Corbin Vandy baseball memorabilia, and a signed Mookie Betts baseball. 615-737-1025. I've got a Preds thought. So I've got a Preds thought. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company. We are delivered by TriStar Moving, live out at Ford Ice Center, Bellevue. It's ESPN 1025, The Game. Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025. The game is 615 Day, presented by Social Furniture. Social Furniture located in West Nashville. We are here at the Fordyce Center, Bellevue. Come by and check out a sectional couch where you can register to win a recliner. We are raising money for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. Donate to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee by texting FUTURE to Caroline.
762.
No, wrong one.
70, 70, 70, 70.
707070.
707070. We do a silent auction. Text PREDS to 76278, and that auction ends at 6:15 today. And all of those proceeds go right to the Boys and Girls Clubs. Again, Pekka Rinne and Philip Forsberg signed jerseys, Predators team signed stick, signed Titans photos, signed Tim Corbin, Vandy baseball memorabilia, and a signed Mookie Betts baseball. The 4 o'clock hour of 615 Day is presented by Brian's Motorsports. Brian's Motorsports BMS Off-Road has it all, from lift kits to wheels, tires, auto systems, video, window tinting, and more online at briansmotorsports.com. We dream, we design, we build. By the way, I need to talk to them since they do tires. I'm not much of like a do-your-own tire kind of guy.
Does anyone do their own tires?
Well, I think I have a nail in my tire, so I need someone to get the nail out of my tower and then to tire and then to patch it up and whatever. You go around, it's like, yeah, we think we can get you in on maybe Saturday. Like, it's Tuesday today.
Like in my tire, and
Right.
I like drive places.
Yeah, it's Tuesday, and I'm not rich enough to have 2 cars. I mean, I'm not rich,
One
period,
day.
but I'm not rich enough to have 2 cars.
One day.
Like, let's be real. So, anywho, maybe I need to talk to Brian's Motorsports. Anywho, speaking of 615 Day and charity, did you see that Pekka Rinne won the King Clancy Memorial Trophy?
I did see that.
And I did promise that if he won that, I would make a donation to the Predators 365 Fund, and I plan on doing that, and I encourage everybody else to do that as well, on top of the Boys and Girls Club or whatever you'd like. However, Pekka Rinne deserved that award. And I don't know exactly how they go about giving out that award or who votes on it. I mean, PK Subban was up for the award. He ended up not getting it. PK's charity efforts are well known. It's like PK did a lot of things that made him kind of cocky or people didn't like or rubbed people the wrong way. And then it was like, yeah, well, PK Subban's donated $10 million to the Children's Hospital. Well, PK, you can't say he's a bad guy. Pekka Rinne has done so much in this city for so many people. He's done it for Best Buddies, the 365 Fund, obviously for all of the sick kids with pancreatic cancer, with pediatric cancer. And there's a lot of things he's done that you don't know about, too, that he's been a big part of. And I was glad that Pekka won it. And last night, Pekka had a little press conference, media availability about it. And I was thinking this today. And this is probably the unpopular opinion. And I don't know what he's going to do, and I don't know what he wants to do. I know the Predators want him back. David Poyle has said as much, but people I've talked to inside the organization are like, yeah, we really, really hope Pekka comes back. Isn't this the perfect way to go out? Like, I know this is the unpopular opinion, and I'm not trying to be Johnny, contrarian here. But isn't this the way to go out? Like, we think about all these guys in sports that just never hang it up. And it's like, man, it doesn't really tarnish their legacy.
No.
But at the same time, it's like, when Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl in his last game and he was barely a starting quarterback in the NFL anymore, isn't that the time to go? It was like they asked him on the field after the Super Bowl, Peyton, is this your last game? Oh, I don't know. I have to think about it. Of course it's his last game. Like Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh, it's time, Ben. It's time to hang it up. Did Phillip Rivers really need to go to Indianapolis? I mean, at some point, it's time. And I'm not saying it's time for Pekka. I mean, I think he's still got a little bit left in there. Certainly don't think he's got a lot left in there. He's got a little bit left in there. But what's one more season for the Predators going to do for Pekka Rinne? The only option I think he's got is to go somewhere else in the National Hockey League. I mean, he can go to Finland or whatever, but that's just kind of like, I'm going to go home and go play. Okay. But what's one more season going to do for him as a backup? Going to play like once every 4 games. And let's not kid ourselves. I will be stunned if this Predators team is a legitimate contender next season for a Stanley Cup. And I'm not trying to complain about the Predators. I'm not trying to yell or scream, or I'm not trying to. But again, I'm just trying to keep it real. I mean, contending, not can they make the playoffs next year, not can they do better than they did this past year. I mean, that's a different discussion. But again, contending for the Cup. Watch Vegas last night. Watch Vegas. And here's why the Vegas series is probably a good one. Because you got one team that is there, and you got another team that belongs there. Vegas belongs there. Montreal doesn't. Look at the size of Vegas. Watch Tampa Bay. And remember that Tampa Bay dispatched of Carolina, who you lost to in 6 games. They dispatched them in 5, and it was pretty convincing. UC Saros is going to be the starter here next year. There's a lot of things up in the air. Again, I don't know what the long-term answers for the Predators are. Sometimes I get discouraged thinking about it. But for Pekka, he goes out with a shutout in his final game, if this is his final game. That's a big step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Gets that victory lap skate off at Bridgestone Arena for what wasn't a packed house, but was a lot of people, and everybody got up and clapped and cheered a hero's goodbye. Then he wins the King Clancy Memorial Trophy, which basically is who's the best person in the NHL, and he won that award. Isn't that the way to go out? Like, again, I'm not here to write the script. We'd all love to be John Elway. We'd all love to retire at the top of our game, winning the Super Bowl, knowing that we really didn't have much left in the tank. But we're not John Elway. And, again, I think back to this, and I'm like, I don't think he's got starting. Like, I think we saw during the season when Saros got hurt and he had to play every night, like, he'd have a good game, and then he'd have a bad game. Because I just think physically he can't play at the same level that a starting goalie's played at, so he's not a starter anymore. You're going to come here, ride the bench. Saros is going to start. He's going to play once every 4th or 5th night. And what? Losing the first round and not playing it? I mean, again, I'm not telling Pekka to retire. I'm not. I'm just saying if I were him, I'd have a hard time having the end be what it was and that not being kind of my final moments in hockey. Like, that's, Mike Fisher, and I don't know how Mike Fisher feels about this, and he won a President's Trophy coming back, but, I mean, Mike Fisher, team captain, goes to the Stanley Cup final, retires, and then comes back. And he's a third-line player on a team that was pretty good, but then he's looking for the storybook ending, and I get it, and he didn't win the Cup, and I understand that. But, like, can you do better than Pekka has for the ending? You're the most popular hockey player in the history of that town. I mean, at that point, you get that goodbye, you get that great game at the end, that celebration of you on a night that was perfect. There was nothing to play for on either side. It was Pekka's night. He played great. You won the game. He got basically carried off on people's shoulders the hockey way. And now he's voted best person in the NHL, which essentially is what this award is to me. I'm not trying. I know everybody wants him back. And there's a part of me that wants him back too. It's more fun when he's on the team. And it's better than Jonathan Bernier or James Reimer or Ryan Miller, who, by the way, I think is retiring. It's better than all those backups. But, what is there, what else is there to do? He's not winning the Cup as a starter here. So, what else is there to do?
I totally see your point, and I think that if this were any other season, unaffected by COVID, where he could kind of have his goodbye tour, then yes. This year would be a great way to end it, go out on a high note. You just won this wonderful award that not only rewards your hockey ability, but also your philanthropic efforts and you as a person. But I think that Pekka wants one last go around. That's normal. Where Bridgestone
how do you
can
know
be
that?
packed.
But again, he's not going to be the starter.
But he wasn't the starter this past year either.
But that's not what he was signed to be on that team.
But I think no matter when he retires, let's say he does decide to retire next year following a final season where he can have a PAX break shown and travel to all of these different arenas in front of PAX houses as well.
He is not a retirement tour guy.
But he will always look back on those years where he did win the Vesna, the year that he did win the King Clancy Memorial Trophy, the years that the Predators did make long runs in the playoffs. He will always have those memories and always look back on those fondly. Even if he does end on a year where he starts once every 5, 6 games, they may not make it to the playoffs, and if they do, they may not make it past the first round. He will always have those memories, and no matter when he retires, those aren't going away.
I know, but
and
for
it's
him
not
to
like
sit the bench so that everybody around, so that they can be like, welcome to Montreal, bienvenue, whatever, here's Pecorine, everybody. Well, all right, now go sit on the bench.
Well, I don't think he's doing it for applause. I think he's doing it for himself.
See, I don't think this is me. I wouldn't come back. I wouldn't. But that's just me. I'm not telling him what to do. He can do what he does. But again, the attention thing, that's not me.
I don't think he's doing it for attention, but I think
he's not that.
I think if I dedicated my life to something and I am deciding to end that thing that I've dedicated my life to,
You want to spend a whole off season working your tail off to play once every 5 nights?
Well, I mean, if that's what I'm dedicating my life to.
If I were him, and this is just me, if I were him, I'd go somewhere else before I come back here.
I don't think he would do that.
I don't know what he would do.
I don't think that he's a attention-seeking guy, and I also don't think he's the kind of guy that would be like, you know what, if you're not going to start me, then I'm going to leave.
Why not? Guys want to play.
Well, he didn't play this past season.
Right, but he didn't have a choice. He's on a contract.
I don't think that I don't
If
think
he
that
signs
would
with the
go
Washington Capitals, if he signs with the Washington Capitals today, he's a starting goalie. So he's a starting goalie on a team with Alexander Ovechkin.
I mean, he has every right to do whatever he wants to do.
So
I just don't think that he would do
I
that.
wouldn't put myself through what he would put himself through to go be the backup when I can go start in the league. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll take a look at the headlines with Caroline Stillman and Company. We are live from, again, the Home Studio, powered by RumbleOn.com. 615 Day is presented by Social Furniture, located in West Nashville. Come on by and check out a sectional couch at the Ford Ice Center here in Bellevue, where we are, and you can register to win that recliner. Also, this hour of the program on Stillman & Company is presented by Bryant's Motorsports. Bryant's Motorsports TMS Off-Road has it all. The lift kits, the wheels, tires, audio systems, video, window tinting, and more online at Bryant'sMotorsports.com. We dream, we design, we build. Stillman & Company, ESPN 102.5 again. 615 Day is presented by Social Furniture, located in West Nashville. We are live at Fordyce Center, Bellevue. This hour of the program presented by Brian's Motorsports. Brian's Motorsports, off-road has it all, from lift kits to wheels, tires, audio systems, video, window tinting, and more. Online at briansmotorsports.com. We dream, we design, we build. I saw someone text into the text line. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, who said, well, if Pekka wants to do whatever he wants to do, let him do it. And I said, and when I saw that, I go, okay, what if he wants to sign with the Chicago Blackhawks? Now how do you feel?
I'm sure the tune would be much different.
Okay, time now for headlines with Caroline.
We're spanning the sports world. It's Headlines with Caroline on Stillman and Company, right here on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, let me hear it.
A few updates from around the league's minicamp. So 2 cornerbacks, both in the AFC East, have not reported to minicamp. Cornerback for the Patriots, Stephon Gilmore, was a no-show at mandatory minicamp today. He has not attended any off-season workouts. It's a contract thing. He's been making around $4.5 million in each of his 4 seasons in Foxborough so far. He would be making $7.5 million this year, according to his contract. He's in the final season of his contract. So he's been wanting to adjust that and shift that.
Oh, no, he's been making more than $4.5 million.
$14.5 million.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, $14.5 million a year in each of his 4 seasons, and this season in his final year of his contract would be making $7.5, and he's not very happy about that. Also, Miami head coach Brian Flores said that he is unsure if corner Xavier Howard would show up for mandatory minicamp. It's also a contract situation. He in 2020 he had 50 tackles and 10 interceptions. He was a huge contribution to Miami's defense last year. So, interesting to follow that.
So here's my theory on it. Life's a two-way street now, and if you can cut me because I'm not playing well enough, then if I'm playing well enough and I want a new contract, you got to give me a new contract, or I'm going to do what's in my power and I'll miss mandatory minicamp. The NFL's a two-way street. It is uncomfortable, but ultimately I don't think these guys are going to miss real checks. So they're not at minicamp. I'd be stunned if they're not at training camp, because now those fines are unforgivable and they add up quickly.
Another not shocking no-show, mandatory minicamp.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
So he owes the Packers $500,000 from his contract workout bonus that he did not fulfill, and he would also owe the Packers around $93,000 for missing mandatory minicamp. So developments in the Aaron Rodgers saga, and I am over it.
I wonder if Aaron is looking for an exit strategy now. Like, how do I... Now, and when I say exit strategy, I mean exit from all the drama he's created. So how do I, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, how do I go back to playing in Green Bay and not have egg on my face and look like I completely and totally caved?
Well, I mean, Packers have said, we want him back. So I think all it would really take is for Aaron Rodgers to be like, hey, guys, I'm coming back.
No, because that looks like he caved. So there has to be something to where Aaron can act like, see, this is all I wanted, and this is what they gave me. When they're not going to give him what he wants. They are not going to give him what he wants, and he knows he's not going to get what he wants, and they want him to play quarterback. So how does he do this? How do they come to an agreement to where it looks like, no, Aaron's not caving, because Aaron is too prideful. He will suck it up and give back the $40 million if you don't make some sort of concession that at least makes it look like Aaron can hold it up and say, I didn't completely and totally lose.
But I also think that's kind of a check to his ego if he has to pay them back $40 million. That's $40 million of his money. I think a guy with ego that big isn't going to cave to a team and say, okay, I'll give you back $40 million. That's also...
I think it is. I think that's the whole, like, you can't buy me off. So what? Take your money. I'm rich.
I guess.
I mean, you know why they call it, blank you money. It's
Right.
because once you have that kind of money,
You can say blank
you
you.
can say blank you. And that's what this is. Is Aaron's got, Aaron can say goodbye to $40 million and be fine. I mean, I wouldn't say goodbye to $40 million even if I was Aaron, but he can't. So now Green Bay has to figure out, okay, what can we do to assuage Aaron in order to make this look like Aaron gets something out of all of this tantrum that he's thrown, when in reality, we've won.
He also said today there was an interview for that golf tournament with Bryson DeChambeau and Tom Brady, and he was like, "Yeah, the situation I'm in right now, my off season's been great because I can be an NFL player and not show up anywhere." So if he wants to squash the drama, I don't think he's doing a very good job of it.
Yeah, again, he's just looking. Again, it's when you're looking for an exit strategy, when you just want out of the negotiation, you're not going to go on and say like, "Yeah, it's looking bad for me this summer. I just want to do this with my ego at least as bruised
Unbruised.
lightly as possible." That's probably how Aaron's approaching it. What's next?
So CBS is looking for a replacement for longtime NFL broadcaster Rich Gannon. They did not renew his contract in the 2020 season, but now they're looking to fill that hole. So Alex Smith, newly retired Washington football team quarterback, just recently held an audition with CBS, also had an audition with Fox and meetings with NFL Network and ESPN. CBS is also considering ESPN's Mark Sanchez and former Jet and butt fumbler, college football analyst Joey Galloway, and former Cowboys linebacker Sean Lee. So with all of the Titans CBS games and just, CBS
They
NFL
certainly
in
will be on the
general,
Greg Gumbel and whoever is with Greg Gumbel game.
Greg
a
Gumbel
lot.
and Alex Smith game.
They will be on that a lot. I mean, I think the first game of the year this year against Arizona is a Greg Gumbel game. I mean, not that it's been set, but I'm assuming it's Greg Gumbel. I don't know who would be the best of those. I would say CBS needs to start developing its bench because they let Dan Fouts go, but at least they had an option. They signed Charles Davis. They let Rich Gannon go, and they don't have an option. They don't know who's going to be behind it. You start doing that, you turn into a team on the kicking carousel or the Colts on the quarterback carousel or ESPN on the Monday Night Football carousel, and I wouldn't want to be on that. I would say this. Mike Golick Sr.
Oh, that would be a wonderful addition.
I would go get Mike Golick Sr.
Wonderful addition.
Because I think people like Mike Golick Sr., and we know Mike Golick knows football. He played the game. He's called games before. He's got a name. Like, I would go get Mike Golick Sr., or I would move Phil Simms if Phil Simms wanted to leave the pregame show, and I'd move Phil Simms back into the booth, though I don't think Phil Simms would do it. But I keep saying every time these jobs come in, ESPN cannot find a good color commentator for Monday Night Football. I'm like, Mike Golick Sr. Those are headlines with Caroline. Trevor Maddich coming up next. Now, I'm against the 12-team playoff, and so was Trevor last week. But this was before it became somewhat official. It's not official, but before it became somewhat official. I want to know if Trevor believes that 12 teams is as bad as we thought last week, and there's one coach who maybe convinces me otherwise. I'm still not sure about it. That's next here on Stillman & Company. This hour of 615 Day is presented by Bryan Motorsports. BMS Off-Road has it all from lift kits to wheels, tires, audio systems, video, window tinting, and more online at bryantmotorsports.com. We dream, we design, we build. Stillman & Company, Trevor Maddich next. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game. Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving at 615 Day, where we are raising money for the boys and girls clubs of Middle Tennessee. Again, if you want to make a donation, text FUTURE to 707070. Silent auction, still rocking and rolling. Text PREDS to 76278. So Trevor Matich was on our show on Tuesday, and he said he's against the idea of a 12-team playoff. Then on Wednesday, we heard, or Thursday, or whenever it was, we heard the idea of a 12-team playoff. I lost my mind about it, especially finding out that Indiana would play Cincinnati. Now, we live in a society where everybody has their opinion, and the second that you have your opinion and somebody disagrees with it, you think that person's dumb or that person's stupid or whatever. I call it the cable news theory, where no matter what evidence you hear, whatever you believe to begin with is what you're always going to believe. Jamie Chatwell, the head coach at Coastal Carolina, said the reason he likes the idea of a 12-team playoff is because he can look recruits in the eye and say, hey, if we take care of our business, we have a shot to win the championship. That does kind of weigh on my anti-12-team playoff feel, but I still hate it. Trevor Matich joins us now, ESPN college football analyst, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. So, Trev, let's start with that. Have you changed your mind at all? Last week, you were against a 12-team playoff. Bill Hancock tries to say that he's all about it. Greg Sankey says he's all. What do you make of it?
Not at all. I am between an 18 playoff, Jared, and a 12-team playoff. I am strongly in favor of 8, not 12. But between 4 and 12, I'm strongly in favor of 12. I think 4 has done a lot of damage to college football in a lot of different ways. We have talked a lot about the damage it does to the value of conference championship races, but there are other things that are damaging as well that I think were unintended consequences, damaging in recruiting, damaging in alienating fan bases because of the way that broadcasters talk about the playoff as the season goes on. And that only revolves around a very few teams if it's only 4. A lot of things about the 4-team playoff have proven to be detrimental, except as it's stepping stone from the BCS to a larger playoff. So if it's between 12 and 4, give me 12 all day long.
Why is 4 so bad?
4 is bad for a couple of reasons. One is that it makes conference championship races irrelevant. The committee spokespeople over the years have said that a conference championship win is nothing more to them than a tiebreaker at the end of the process if they need it to separate teams otherwise. In other words, yeah, it's important to win your conference championship, but it's not that big of a deal, right? Now, we've seen conference champions be left out in favor of somebody that they beat who the committee ranked higher at the end of the season. That's bad for college football. It alienates fan bases. I mean, when you look at the Pac-12, for example, in 2018 and 2019, the team that eventually won the Pac-12, it was Washington and then Oregon, lost to Auburn in the season opener. And that put the Pac-12 pretty much out of the playoff conversation for the rest of the season. People cast an eye over there once in a while, but the national conversation was about other folks. And so that alienates entire regions. Another thing that the 4-team playoff is bad about is that because college football is seen through the lens of the playoff, as the season goes on, there's a very narrow subset of teams that are getting talked about on the national shows. So it's Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and maybe 2 or 3 possible teams that could make it. Everybody else is pretty much off the radar, or they're just also Rams, and that's also not good for college football. I think expanding the playoff, in this case to 12, keeps conversations at the national level going on all over the country, and it makes more games relevant to entering the playoff late in the season than a 4-team playoff could allow.
I hate the idea that we don't have common sense anymore in sports. And I look at an 18 playoff. I'm with you. An 18 playoff makes sense to me. I think a 12-team playoff is a total cash grab. And I'm sorry, but this is college football. And I've seen what everything being about the money has done to college basketball. And I watch college softball, Trevor, and I think that's the most fun college sport to watch right now. The games are entertaining. The teams are all pretty decent. The ladies play their butts off. I mean, I am a college softball fan. I am addicted to that Women's College World Series. I don't care about college basketball anymore. Those programs are crooked. Those coaches are buying players. Those kids don't want to be there. I mean, this 12-team playoff thing, Trevor, it's a total cash grab, and that's fine. But it's college football, and I think ultimately it hurts the brand. But all those commissioners want to get up there and tell me that, no, it's good for college football, and that's where I draw the line.
Well, I see that differently about the cash. I'm all for cash. The more money that's available in college football, the more ends up getting to the players.
Then let's play 64. Hey, let's play 64, Trev.
What?
Let's play 64. NCAA football tournament, just like the NCAA basketball tournament.
Well, that would be a little bit silly. See, I don't mind the money. To me, the cash that you get in March Madness is a separate thing from the cash that's under the table that feeds the corruption that you're talking about, although in some ways they're related because, you want to get the cash in March Madness too. But when it comes to the 12-team playoff as a cash grab, first of all, it'll put a ton more money into college football and college programs in general. And football feeds other programs, and now there will be more money available in the group of five, especially because at least one group of five team will be guaranteed to make the playoff under the current recommendations of a 12 team. They're talking about the top 6 highest ranked conference champions will get an automatic berth. Well, there's only 5 Power 5 conferences. And so that means at least one group of 5 conference champion will be in that top 6. And that will bring a ton of money and a ton of exposure into the group of 5. And I think that is good. But ultimately, I think the biggest impetus towards moving right past 8 teams and going straight to 12 is the SEC. The SEC saw the 14 playoff as 4 at-large berths. And they thought because of the depth of conference, especially their top-tier teams, they had a good chance to put 2 into the 4, which they have done. If you go to an 8-team playoff with 5 Power 5 conference champions automatic berth, you go from 4 at-large berths to 3. If you go to a 12-team playoff, you now have 6 at-large berths. So the SEC wants more at-large opportunities for their top tier to get multiple teams into the playoff, and I think that was the biggest reason that they skipped 8 and went to 12 in this current proposal.
I hate it. And I hear what you're saying, and I hate it. And I thought, when I heard what Jamie Chatwell said about the fact that Coastal Carolina can now look recruits in the eyes and say, hey, we got a shot to play for the championship, I thought, maybe I hate it less, even though I still hate it. And then you just told me that, and I hate it. I hate it. I do. I think it's ridiculous. I think a 12-team playoff. I mean, Caroline was reading through the teams, Trev, that are going to end up making it in a 12-team playoff. I don't need to see Indiana play Cincinnati in a 5-12 game.
Well,
sorry.
Does your remote still work? Because they do have reruns of Green Acres at the time that game would have been played.
Trevor, they wouldn't even put you calling on. They wouldn't even want you a part of that game. They're like, no, Trevor, you don't need to do the halftime show for that game. We have you for more important games. I think the Poinsettia Bowl is coming on. We got you for that one because you definitely don't need to do Cincinnati, Ohio, and definitely Ohio State. Cincinnati, Indiana playoff game.
Yeah, but see, what you have in that scenario, Jared, is the same thing that we have now with the 14 playoff. So chances are pretty good that the same 4 teams that end up in the current 4-team playoff will be the 4 teams that will end up in the Final 4 of a 12-team playoff. Chances are pretty good that'll be the case. But it does open the opportunity for the Butlers of the world, of the football world, to be Cinderella and to get hot. I mean, Coastal Carolina last year could play with almost everybody in the country. And if they got hot and stayed healthy at the end, there's no reason they couldn't have given a big scare, if not a big upset, not just in the first round of the playoff, but in the next or even the next. And so the possibility is open, but I still think that the same teams are going to be largely the ones that will be playing in the Final 4.
How do you think Nick Saban feels about this? Nick Saban hated the playoff because he thinks it knocked away the importance of winning the SEC. Now, to your point, there will be more SEC at-larges. I mean, Saban, in theory, the way that they play that schedule at Alabama, they could lose 2 games and still get into the playoff and still win the national title. Do you think Saban is for or against a 12-team playoff?
I think Saban should have every reason to be for it. And the reason is that, first of all, it's better for the conference. But also, it does, in a strange way, make the conference championship more valuable. And this is why. Under the current proposal, there would be 4 buys. So the top 4 highest-ranked conference champions wouldn't have to play in the first round of playoffs. That means they would have to win 3 games to win a national championship through the playoffs instead of 4 games for the next 8 teams that don't get the bye. So if Alabama is playing Georgia, and let's say Bama's number 2 and Georgia's number 4 for the SEC championship game in Atlanta, right? Then both of those teams, regardless of who wins, is going to make the playoff. But chances are only the winner of the SEC championship game between those two would get the first round bye. And so that makes winning the conference still very, very important.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem very college football-ish. It just doesn't. Oh, it drives me insane. Trevor Matich is our guest. Trev, last thing for you on this 12-team playoff. Do you think there is any chance that this doesn't pass?
No, I think it will absolutely pass. I think too many teams and too many conferences benefit from it. Even the SEC benefits from it because chances are pretty good they won't get 2. They'll get 3 in some years, And so I think every conference has a reason to like this. Overall, the money is massive. And a lot of that money will go to programs that have been cutting Olympic sports, even Stanford, for goodness sake, one of the greatest overall athletic departments in the country that puts tons of Olympians into the Olympic Games, that wins championships in all kinds of sports that football fans don't even know exist, had to cut like 7 or 8 Olympic sports last year because of COVID. And who knows if they'll come back. This creates more money, and it helps not just the football programs, but it helps the women's fencing program. It helps the men's wrestling program that might have been cut because of Title IX, because of finances. It helps a lot of things. And for all those reasons, I do think this will pass. The only question is, will it come up in 2 years, which is what the committee, with the playoff boss, Bill Hancock, has said is the earliest it could in 2023, or will they wait until 2026 after this current CFP, college football playoff contract, expires?
Sure.
That's the only question. There is no question that they will do this kind of expansion.
Trevor Matich, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trev, I'm still against it. I'm still against the 12-team playoff. This is not the NBA. This is college football, but I know that I'm getting overruled anyways. Appreciate you, Trev.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with a lot of your objections, Jared. I just like it better than 4. And so that's where I stand. But I agree with you on a lot of the things that you disagree with. So it's great to talk to you, man. I'll talk to you next week.
We'll see you, Trev. Trevor Matich, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. We are live at 615 Day. 615 Day is presented by Social Furniture, located in West Nashville. Come by and check out a sectional couch right here at Fordyce Center, Bellevue. You can register to win a recliner. And this hour, presented by Bryant's Motorsports, BMS Off-Road has it all, from lift kits to wheels, tires, audio systems, window tinting, and more online at bryantsmotorsports.com. We dream, we design, we build. Stillman and Company's delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game. and Company is live at Fordyce Center Bellevue celebrating 615 Day. That's June 15th. Today presented by Social Furniture, located in West Nashville. Come by and check out a sectional couch right here at the Fordyce Center Bellevue. You can register to win a recliner. Why are we here? Because we're raising money for the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee. Donate to Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. Text FUTURE to 707070. You got that?
7070 and then another 70.
Do you know what you're supposed to text to it?
Future.
Future to 707070. And then we've got the silent auction going on as well. You text PREDS to 76278. Items include a Pekka Rinne and Philip Forsberg signed jersey, Predators team signed stick, signed Titans photos, signed Tim Corbin, Vandy baseball memorabilia, signed Mookie Betts baseball. Surprising they didn't ask me to sign anything to auction away, but
That is
again,
shocking. I would throw some big dollars at a Jared Stillman signed whatever it is.
Well, we're throwing big dollars at you, so, I think it's all fair, one way or another. Anywho, we're joined now as we are here again. Big day for the city, but a big day for the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee. Joined by Jocelyn Jackson, who is the Senior Director of Resource Development, and Alan Bolden, who's a former club member and president of Club Beyond Alumni Association with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. Jocelyn, I'm going to start with you because, well, your name was first here on the First of all, thanks for having us out here today. Thanks for having us be a part of this. I know that us and the Predators got together about 615 Day, and when I heard Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee, I was totally in. I've told people, I think that for a lot of people that grew up pretty fortunately, and I think I kind of did, I think that it's always important to try to give back to those who aren't, and the Boys and Girls Club certainly focuses upon that. I think everybody knows the benefits of the Boys and Girls Club, but maybe not as specifically the benefits of the Boys and Girls Club here in Middle Tennessee.
Absolutely. So Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee has been in our community for 118 years. Right here, local. We serve 4,700 youth every year, although we want to double that to 10,000 by 2026. So you'll hear us say that all the time. Dub 100 by 2026. Doubling the number of youth we serve. But we do a lot of great programming, and it's all aimed at academic enrichment, healthy lifestyles, and then good character and leadership so that our club members have everything they need to be ready for their great future. So we like to say, ready to read, ready for class the next day, ready to graduate, ready for their career, and ready to serve their community.
Alan, you've been obviously involved in the Boys and Girls Club for a while in different capacities. What do you think kind of the biggest impact of the money that people donate to the Boys and Girls Club, whether it's through a silent auction with our help with the Predators and what we're doing, or, for example, just a straight-up donation to the number?
707070.
Okay.
She got it.
What do you, how does that money help these kids?
Yeah. Well, I'll just speak from my experience personally. So growing up, I was labeled an at-risk youth, and when I entered the Boys and Girls Club, my parents were going through a divorce and a very unstable environment at home. And so you remember the Denzel Washington commercials or radio commercials,
Sure.
I guess, of that's the most important time for a kid to be impacted, and a lot of bad things can happen. And so for me, that allowing a place for me to go after school, and that was safe, I could explore athletics, there were games, there were study hall, there were a lot of different impacts on me in this one place after school. And so I think you're impacting kids and giving them a safe place, and that's what you're investing in. But also now it's grown to be so much more. I mean, they've got studios, they've got folks that are coming in teaching them professional, teaching them about banking, teaching them about how to buy a house, different things. They're bringing people in to teach them what it's like to experience life outside of the Boys and Girls Club, beyond high school, beyond school, and things like that. That's in the community. So I think it's so much, it's so vast. It's such a big question. I could probably talk about it for 30 minutes, but it's really driving it, taking the kids that are young right now, that are potentially at risk, and making them into the next generation that we can rely on to be great.
So you talked about all those ways people can help. Jocelyn, outside of just money, what are other ways people can help the Boys and Girls Club and help the kids, as Alan put it, the at-risk kids in our society right now?
Yeah, I mean, of course, money is very helpful. It keeps our doors open.
Like, we vote money first, but if money's not the,
But we also need volunteers, especially now as people are getting more vaccinated, restrictions are lifting. We are allowing a lot more people into our clubs. club members, but also volunteers. We need mentors. We need people that want to come in and help with reading, because we know that that third grade reading level is so critical in making sure that you are on track to graduate from high school. So we want people, individuals, corporate groups, come on out if you want to throw a big party, a field day, or if you want to be a regular volunteer that is that regular, strong, positive presence in a youth's life. Well, hey, we really want you to come out.
What do you think kind of the biggest takeaway you had, not only your experience at the Boys and Girls Club, but then maybe afterwards and seeing what it's done for others?
Well, I mean, I am really passionate about how kids are impacted and how it impacts their ability to function as adults. And so I watch directly how these kids change, how they come out of high school and they enter college, and maybe you enter in college and this is the first time you've entered into a structured environment where everybody has a common goal, whereas high school it's a free-for-all and kind of a wild card. And so you're entering into an unknown environment, but you have a structure that you can kind of go back on that you were brought up in the Boys and Girls Club that maybe you didn't have at home, but you at least saw something there that carried over, and that changes a culture in a child's head and in a kid's head going into college and into adulthood and a professional career.
Guys, I want to thank you all so much for letting us be a part of this. And I know that 615 Day has been something that, like last year, we really wanted to do, but obviously things were so different a year ago. And so to be out here and to see all the people out here in the parking lot at Fordyce Center here in Bellevue and what the Predators have done, getting involved and what the station's been able to do, I think it's obviously, I'm a big fan of the Boys and Girls Club, but it's really cool. We're really glad to be a part of this. And now it's weird because I'm going to go complain about football, and it just doesn't seem to be as important. But, again, if you want to get in, you can text FUTURE to
707070.
There you go, 707070. And, again, the silent auction until 6:15 or 6:15 p.m. today. And they got a bunch of great Preds items, Titans items, Vandy, Tim Corbin, Mookie Betts, etc., all going on. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And if I could just say, our total right now is a little over 2,000. We want to end the day at 2,615. So you can get $5, $10, get us to that 2,615.
2,615. So we're getting kind of close.
We're getting close.
Getting kind of close. Let me know how far away we are at 550 today. Can you do that?
I can do that.
Okay. Again, text FUTURE to 707070 and try to raise some money for the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee. Guys, thank you so much. If anybody wants to get involved other than texting that, is there any other way they can get involved?
You can go to bgcmt.org.
Say that one more time for the people at home.
bgcmt.org.
Jocelyn, Allen, thank you guys so much. And thanks for, again, having us out here as part of 615 Day. It's not just Nashville's birthday, but it's a day to help out those in Nashville because, again, we're all one community. Stillman & Company, we're delivered by TriStar Moving. This hour of 615 Day presented by Bryan Motorsports. BMS Off-Road has it all from lift kits to wheels, tires, audio systems, video, window tinting, and more. Online at bryantmotorsports.com. We dream, we design, we build. Stillman & Company, we're delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 1025 The Game. Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025. The game live from 615 Day, presented by Social Furniture. As we are out here at Ford Ice Center in Bellevue, register to win a Social Furniture recliner. It's a very comfortable recliner over there. So come on out and register to win that recliner. And again, we are raising money for the Boys and Girls Club. You heard what they said. We're just over 2,000. They want to get to 2,615. So if you want to make a donation, text FUTURE to 707070. There you go. In order to make a donation, and as Jocelyn said, even if it's $5. By the way, this hour of the program presented by the Modern Dog Company. The Modern Dog Company should be every Nashville resident's first go-to when shopping for the best leashes, harnesses, collars, and more for their dogs. Game listeners can use special promo code 615day for 15% off your order at themoderndogcompany.com. The Modern Dog Company, one company for all dogs. And let me just say, I am a huge supporter and fan of the Modern Dog Company.
They had a little tent out there at 615 Day, and they have the coolest stuff. And I do not have a dog, but I even considered getting something just in case I maybe do change my mind and do get a dog.
Well, go get it, because the Modern Dog Company is the best. But that's neither here nor there. And I'm a huge fan, and again, this hour presented by them. So finally, you know that feeling when everybody around you, and I think I probably experienced this more than other people, but when you feel like you're the only person in the room who's making sense and everybody else is just talking and talking and talking, and you know everything they say is not true, and it's all something that somebody heard. I've noticed this sometimes. I used to always have friends like this that would hear something on the radio, or they'd read a David Clymer article in the Tennessean, and they'd say, you know what I heard? And I'm like, yes, you heard that on the radio. You heard that from David Clymer. In fact, sometimes I'd hear people say, well, you know what I heard them say? And I hear what they say, and I'm like, yes, I'm the one who said that. Like, I hear that, but then I don't say that. I'm just like, oh, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Whoever said that's probably right. But there's just sometimes where people talk, and it's the groupthink society that we live in is, I want to believe it, so I heard somebody say it. So now I'm using the fact that somebody said it as proof that what I believe is true.
It's validation.
And it is everywhere in our society. And there is no greater example of this than the treatment of the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts. So for some reason, everybody got built into their mind that the Indianapolis Colts had some incredible roster. Like an incredible roster, right? Like everybody talks about Indianapolis is just such a complete team, Bob. Every time you watch them play, I mean, they are just, what makes them complete? They have a running back, okay. They've got a decent offensive line, not a great offensive line. Left tackle, who knows? Pass rush, yeah, you know, it's okay. Defense, yeah, it's okay. Quarterback, I mean, you know, in 2017, he was good. And then everybody is latching on to this 2017 thing. Like when Ryan Grigson was the general manager and the Colts would miss on draft picks, people would say, that is a horrible roster, and Andrew Luck's the only guy who's there. Chris Ballard comes in, hits on his first 2 draft picks. Everybody thinks he's the greatest general manager in the world. And then all of a sudden, they don't have Andrew Luck. They don't win any games. And it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. You know, yeah, they're an 8 or 9 win team, but it's okay because it's not their fault that they don't have Andrew Luck. And I'm like, right, but I don't get it. The Titans went to the AFC Championship game, won the division a year ago, and still on TV, oh, yes, Indianapolis. And they love them. By the way, Carson Wentz, their quarterback, got benched last year. The coach got fired. The team said previously that they'd rather have Nick Foles be their quarterback. He left. Then when they made Jalen Hurts the quarterback, the team said that they'd rather have Jalen be the quarterback, and nobody seems to notice this. And this, Damian Woody, is a perfect example of this. Carson Wentz has not been a good quarterback since 2017. Like, I was listening to Jordan Sparks the other day, and I was thinking to myself, you know, Jordan Sparks, when she was on American Idol and she won, she had all the potential in the world. When you win American Idol, you can be, you know, as famous as Carrie Underwood, or as irrelevant as
one of the
Taylor
irrelevant
Hicks.
ones.
I use Taylor Hicks, you know,
That's
whatever.
a good one. That's
okay,
a good one.
you can be as relevant as Carrie Underwood or as irrelevant as Taylor Hicks. Jordan Sparks has had hits. I mean, she has
No
had
Air?
hits.
Are you crazy? That's a
No
great
Air.
song.
Like Battlefield's not really my kind of music, but it was a jam.
It's a bop for sure.
When's the last time Jordan Sparks did anything that mattered?
I don't know what she's been up to recently.
Does anybody sit there and say, you know who's a great musician? Jordan Sparks. Like when we're sitting there and talking about the best musicians in the world, like everybody hammered me because I said The Weeknd wasn't famous enough to play the Super Bowl, and everybody got mad. But at least I understand like why people would get mad. At least The Weeknd is somewhat relevant right now. Jordan Sparks, she had all the talent in the world. She had some hits. She's done. And nobody wants to look at Carson Wentz, and nobody wants to say, 2017 was a long time ago. Even Damian Woody today on ESPN, they were having a discussion about the Colts and Carson Wentz. You know what? If he plays like he did 4 years ago, Damian Woody said, take a listen.
Well, listen, that's what Indianapolis, the Indianapolis Colts are trading for. You got to remember, Frank Wright was the guy that was a play caller. He was in that room. He's the guy that told Chris Ballard, look, I have faith that I can pull out the most from Carson Wentz. And listen, if he's not 2017 Carson Wentz, I don't think they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think they beat the Cleveland Browns. I think the expectation is Frank Reich is saying, I can get that out of him. That's why they made the trade with the Indianapolis Colts. They have a great roster around him. If they can get him to play like he did in 2017, the Colts will be squarely in the mix with the AFC title contenders.
Why do we not talk about that with any other player in any other sport? Like nobody looks at basketball and says, do you know what? If we can get Draymond Green to play like he did in 2015, the Warriors might make the playoffs. Nobody talks like that in sports except for this guy. And finally, and Damian Woody's not the only one on ESPN who's been floating this narrative that Frank Reich is going to fix Carson Wentz. And the best part was, if he's not 2017 Wentz, I don't know if they can beat Kansas City. Who thinks Indianapolis can beat Kansas City? Where did that come from? So thank goodness for Dominique Foxworth on the panel, who just injected a little bit of reality into the conversation. Here's what he said.
I don't think that Indy wants 2017 Carson Wentz. They don't want the game on his shoulders necessarily. They want him to manage the situation and make good decisions. They were a good team last year with much diminished Phillip Rivers. So if they can get something close to that or a little bit better than that, I think they like what they're getting. But 2017 Carson Wentz was the aberration. I don't think we see that particular season come together again.
I'll be surprised if Dominique Foxworth has a job tomorrow. Because the way ESPN talks about the Indianapolis Colts and the way they talk about the fact that Carson Wentz at one point in time was good is just, Jared Goff was good in 2018, and nobody talks about that. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I guess I'm glad Dominique Foxworth brought that up, the idea of, look, if Indianapolis just asks Carson Wentz to manage the game, they should be okay. Now, they're not going to win the AFC. They're not going to beat Kansas City. They're not going to beat a team like that doing that. But again, I look at all this Carson Wentz talk in Indianapolis, and I feel like I'm the only person that sits there and says, it's not very likely that he plays like he played 4 years ago, but didn't play that way 3 years ago, didn't play that way 2 years ago, and was so terrible last year that he got benched. Am I nuts for being frustrated with all of this optimistic, just bow down to the Indianapolis Colts talk that I feel like I hear consistently?
No, and it totally makes sense. And your point, not the argument that is being made that Carson Wentz can be anything other than what he has proven to be the last 4 years. I think that we have seen from Carson Wentz that 2017 is the exception and not the rule. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're leaning a little bit more towards the rule is that Carson Wentz is not going to be this game-changing quarterback that a lot of people expect him to be in Indianapolis. And I think there's a lot of conversation about, okay, when quarterbacks are joining a team for the first time, a new team, first season with a new team, I think those quarterbacks get a lot of benefit of the doubt of like, okay, first season, what are we going to see from them in the first season? Maybe build on it for that second year and continue to learn the offense and continue to learn your wide receivers and the rest of your offense and your offensive coordinator and your coach. And you kind of have that time. You don't have Super Bowl expectations for the most part whenever a quarterback joins a new team for the first year. I don't understand why Carson Wentz isn't getting that same kind of thought. And I don't know why there's any reason to believe differently. And it's kind of similar to that running back conversation that we had yesterday.
Sure.
That I think so many people in the national conversation have these thoughts about what a player has been or what a player was in 2018-19. Because
But we're not doing that with Jared Goff.
we're not doing that with Jared Goff. We're
Think
doing
about Jared Goff.
we're doing that with Carson Wentz, and we're doing that with Christian McCaffrey, and we're doing that with Saquon Barkley.
Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl.
In 2018.
Saquon Barkley, forget about Saquon Barkley. That was Louis Riddick. That was Louis Riddick who's trying to get that job as the general manager of the Giants.
That doesn't
That's
mean
what
I
that
like
was.
it.
Forget about that. We don't do this with Jared Goff. Jared Goff got to the Super Bowl. And I hear this with Philadelphia. Yeah, has anybody ever thought that maybe Wentz was on a really good team? Because they did run through the entire NFC without him. Like they ran through defending NFC champion Atlanta. They ran through Minnesota on the road at Minnesota, who had a great defense that year. No, I believe that game was in Philadelphia. The Super Bowl's in Minnesota. And then they ran through the defending champion Patriots with the greatest coach of all time and the greatest quarterback of all time. Like, I'm sorry, but it's just every freaking day, it's like, what do we think about the AFC South? And I look at it like this. And is there a chance Wentz and Reich are the key? Sure. But I didn't sit here and say when the Titans made the quarterback switch from Mariota to Tannehill, I never sat back and said, hey, maybe Tannehill is the answer. Maybe Tannehill is the next franchise quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. We were talking about Justin Herbert. We were talking about who's in that second class after Tua, and after Joe Burrow. Who could the Titans draft? Because we knew it wasn't going to be Mariota, and we figured it wasn't going to be Tannehill, and we weren't sitting here saying, maybe Tannehill's the guy. He happened to be the guy. They happened to get to the AFC Championship game, but not like this is just nuts. Like this idea that Carson Wentz, I can't wait. I can't wait until Indianapolis starts the year like 2-4 or something like that, and everybody is sitting there saying, how did this happen? This roster was built so well. By the way, can you outside of Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard, the linebacker, can you name me one star player on the Indianapolis Colts?
Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor is what? The 9th best running back in the NFL? The 16th best running back in the NFL?
I mean, if I need to name the top 5 to 10 running backs in the NFL, I don't think Jonathan Taylor would be listed.
Okay, so not him.
Maybe 9 or 10. I mean, T.Y. Hilton?
T.Y. Hilton signed with a 1-year deal. Doesn't seem like a guy who's a star.
And I'm reaching here. I mean, these are the stars that I'm naming from the Indianapolis Colts.
I did leave out DeForest Buckner. I mean, Buckner's pretty good.
Yeah.
But again, it drives me insane. It drives me insane that everybody bows down to the general manager who hasn't won anything. And everybody bows down to the quarterback who, like the general manager, hasn't won anything. And yet, thank goodness that Dominique Foxworth is like, whoa. Stop talking about 2017. 2017 is the exception. It's not the rule. I can't wait. The more I think about this, the more I'm like, this AFC South, if the Titans don't win the AFC South, someone ought to get fired. That's how little respect I have for the Colts. That's how little respect I have for Carson Wentz as their quarterback. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's get your thoughts in. 615-737-1025. At least Dominique Foxworth was able to sit there and say, 2017 Carson Wentz is the exception, not the rule. And by the way, speaking of that, a Colts beat writer is asked the question about how much Julio Jones affects the AFC South. What he had to say and why that is up my craw. 615-737-1025. I'm just in a great mood when it comes to talking about everybody overrating the Colts. But I am in a good mood because, again, it's 615 Day presented by Social Furniture located in West Nashville. Social Furniture is. We are live at the Ford Ice Center Bellevue, where you can win a recliner from Social Furniture. And again, silent auction still going until 6:15, so you've got less than an hour now to get in on the silent auction. All of the proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee. They got a Pecorine and Philip Forsberg signed jersey, a Predators team signed stick, signed Titans photos, signed Tim Corbin and Vandy baseball memorabilia, signed Mookie Betts baseball. Text PREDS to 76278. This hour of the program today brought to you by the Modern Dog Company. The Modern Dog Company should be every Nashville resident's first go-to when shopping for the best leashes, harnesses, collars, and more for their dogs. Game listeners can use special promo code 615DAY for 15% off your order at themoderndogcompany.com. The Modern Dog Company, one company for all dogs. Live from the Whole Sonic Studio, powered by RumbleOn.com. It's ESPN 1025, The Game. Stillman and Company, we are live from Ford Ice Center, Bellevue. Again, 615 Day, presented by Social Furniture. So which one of these am I supposed to read? I'm just going to read them both. Congratulations to Shane and Dave on winning our center ice shootout. Both of them made a goal from the center ice and won a prize pack, which includes a Preds prizes, a $100 Dunkin' gift card, and a pair of tickets to the Preds home opener next season. Good to them.
Ooh.
And congratulations to the two Shanes on winning the Pecorine Goalie Goal Challenge. It's a challenge where we recreated Pecorine's historic goal in honor of him receiving the King Clancy Memorial Trophy. The two Shanes each won an autographed Pecorine hockey puck. Good for them. So, I was reading The Athletic, and they have a mailbag, and in the mailbag, they asked a question about Julio Jones. Makes sense, right? If you're a Colts fan, and you see the Titans acquire Julio Jones, there's probably a part of you that would say, that might not be good for us. That may not be good for our team. And
I hope that's the case.
Stephen Holder, who's been covering the Colts, I think, for a while. I think he covers the Colts for The Athletic. He wrote in the mailbag. He was talking about the Titans. And the reason I bring this up is because it's not the first person I've heard this from, as far as the Titans and Colts are concerned. The question was, who do you consider the favorite in the division, and did the Julio Jones trade change your mind? Let me say this. Again, I'm a Titan fan, but I think that I'm pretty hard on the Titans a lot of the time. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. I consider the Titans, pre-Julio Jones, to be the favorite in the division. And if they're not the favorite in the division, I have a problem with it. That's neither here nor there. Who do you consider the favorite in the division, and did the Julio Jones trade change your mind? Quote, I thought the AFC South was a toss-up between the Colts and Titans, and I still feel that way in spite of the Titans' big trade for Jones. As good as the Titans are on offense, and they have some dangerous weapons from Jones to Derrick Henry to A.J. Brown, their defense is a massive question. By almost every possible measurement, the Tennessee was terrible on defense in 2020. If you use DVOA, and I don't, but if you do, the Titans ranked 29th. If you prefer to use yards per game, they were similarly atrocious at 28th. Their defense ranked 30th in sacks and dead last in third down defense. And lost in the conversation around the addition of Jones are the departures of receiver Corey Davis and tight end Jonnu Smith. That pair combined for 106 receptions last season. The Colts have their own issues, and we'll cover many of them, but the Titans have their share of challenges too. Stop right there. I'm not disagreeing the Titans' defense is probably going to suck this year. I'm just hopeful that it doesn't
it's
suck.
29th in the league.
Sure. Again, I expect them to suck. Just don't suck as bad as you sucked last year.
Fair.
That's all I ask. The Titans still won 11 games last year with that defense. Nobody seems to discuss this. They won the division with 11 wins with that defense. And that defense, it's funny because sometimes the numbers, sometimes things get lost in translation. Everybody talks about Tampa Bay and Tampa Bay's roster because they won the Super Bowl as if Tampa Bay is some just machine. Nah, Tampa Bay was a wild card. Tampa Bay got smoked by New Orleans twice last year. Tampa Bay got lucky that Matt LaFleur doesn't know how to coach. That's Tampa Bay. The Chiefs didn't have their two tackles in the Super Bowl. I'm not making excuses. Tampa Bay went on a nice run. But Tampa Bay's not an unbeatable, undeniable machine of a team.
But
if the
they have
Titans
great
played,
defense with a great quarterback and great offensive weapons.
But they're not a great team.
They're not unbeatable.
They're fine. They're like any other Super Bowl champion. I'll say this. Kansas City, the team that won the championship the year
That's a
before,
good team.
that team's better than Tampa Bay. That returning team is better than Tampa Bay. But we get caught up in what the stats were. Oh, the stats said this. The stats said that. Titans defense was bad last year. And the stats probably don't do it justice of how bad it was. But don't you have to say, because they won 11 games and they won the division with that crap defense, don't you have to look at it and say, oh, dear Lord, if they're improved at all on defense, Indianapolis is up a creek. And let me say this about Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers last year was an old P-Pop, and you knew it because you could see it when he was with the Chargers, that every time he went to throw the ball, it was like he was shot putting. He didn't have a fastball anymore. But he wasn't terrible last year.
No, he's not
Carson
terrible.
Wentz was awful last year. He was awful. And the only thing that anybody ever says about Carson Wentz whenever it's discussed is, well, in 2017, Carson Wentz was. Well, guess what? In 2017, Phillip Rivers was pretty good too. But guess what? It's not 2017. In 2017, Jacoby Brissett was the starting quarterback of the Colts. I will say this, and I would get just creamed if I said this on one of the ESPN shows or one of these places where they all magically believe that Carson Wentz is still good. I think the Indianapolis Colts are as dangerous or less dangerous with Carson Wentz at quarterback than they would be with Jacoby Brissett. And I think Jacoby Brissett is fine. Like, he's a high-end backup. You put him on a great team, he can probably win some games. You put him on a bad team, he's going to lose a lot of games. He's not special. He's not this. He's not. But at least I know Jacoby's not going to lose my team the game. You can't say that about Wentz. So I get it. I get the idea of, well, Tennessee's defense isn't that good. So I could see the Colts being even with the Titans, except that the question mark on Tennessee is defense. But the question is not, is the Titans' defense good or bad? Is it better than it was last year? Because if it's better than it was last year, then watch out, because they won 11 games with that terrible defense.
And they won the division with that defense.
Right. And the Colts' question is the quarterback any freaking good? I mean, like, those questions are not even parallel, in my opinion.
Well, when it comes down to it, yes or no, do you think the Titans got better in the offseason?
Yes.
Do you think the Colts got better in the offseason?
No.
There you go. And Tennessee won the division last year and I'm looking at Pro Football Reference, and on this website, they have Tennessee's defense ranked 24th. They have Indianapolis' defense ranked 10th. Tennessee got better in the offseason. Indianapolis did not. Tennessee won the division and got better in the offseason.
I'm not saying that Indianapolis is for sure going to lose the division, because I think that's what a lot of people would interpret this as.
No, I don't think that at all, but I think the conversation.
Right, I just don't think that today you can make a valid claim that you think Indianapolis is going to win the division, other than, look, I know crazy things happen in football, and I believe in it because of this. I think it's like the CYA discussion of, well, if Carson Wentz plays like he did in 2017, and then when he doesn't, because he didn't play that way in 2018, he didn't play that way in 2019, and he didn't play that last year when he got benched and then cried his way out of Philadelphia, it's like, well, I said if. I said if he plays that way, then they'll win the division. And I'm like, oh, dear goodness gracious. And again, Titans defense I don't think can be worse. And if it is worse, finish the sentence for me. If the Titans defense is worse than it was last year,
somebody's getting fired.
Somebody's getting fired. Somebody's getting fired. That's all I'll say on that. 615-737-1025. We'll hit the headlines with Caroline. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. You all know those are my guys. Summer weather is here, and this time of year, your AC is working overtime. If your unit is nearing the end of its lifespan or is starting to have trouble keeping your house cool enough, now is the time to replace it. Hiller is offering special financing on HVAC systems this summer. Get a new system installed and pay 0 interest for 60 months. Do not wait until you're uncomfortable. Go ahead and ensure you're ready for those peak temperatures. Visit happyhiller.com for all of the details, because as always, happy you will be or the service is free. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporter of the Nashville Predators and the Tennessee Volunteers. Hiller, my guys, they take great care of my home. Call the Happy Face Truck today. Stillman and Company, this hour of the program on 615 Day, where we are live from the Fordyce Center Bellevue. 615 Day presented by Social Furniture in West Nashville. This hour of the program presented by the Modern Dog Company. The Modern Dog Company should be every Nashville resident's first go-to when shopping for the best leashes, harnesses, collars, and more for their dog. Game listeners can use the special promo code 615 Day for 15% off your order at the moderndogcompany.com. The Modern Dog Company, one company for all dogs. Time for headlines with Caroline.
We're spanning the sports world. It's Headlines with Caroline on Stillman and Company, right here on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
So I do have a few more updates from NFL minicamps, but there was one headline on ESPN.com today, and it may have been one of the most ridiculous headlines that I've ever seen, and I just have to get it out there. The headline read, U.S. Olympic runner blames positive steroid test on burrito. I thought, what on earth could that possibly mean? And I read the article, it made a little more sense. But
And then he did some digging, and what was in the burrito?
So the burrito, it was a pork burrito, so Shelby Houlihan.
Yeah, can I get some pork? Can I get a little pico?
A
Can
side
I
of
get
human
some
growth
rice?
hormone.
Can I get some beans? No. Give me those Jack's Magic beans. Thank you.
Guac is extra, but human growth hormone indeed is not.
It's free.
It is free. Shelby Houlihan, she is the American record holder in the 1,500 and 5,000 meters, so distance runner. She's been banned from competition for 4 years, so Tokyo, which she has been training for the past 4 years, following a positive test for steroids. So she posted on social media about it, kind of explaining it. She said she tested positive for nandrolone, and I may be totally butchering that. I'm not a doctor. It has been long understood that by World Anti-Doping Agency that eating pork can lead to a false positive for nandrolone, since certain types of pigs produce it naturally in high amounts. So she said that she ate a pork burrito 10 hours before she took this drug test, and she came back positive for nandrolone, and she wrote a rebuttal to the WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, and they said they weren't interested in it and they weren't going to give her a retest.
Let's vote around the room. I vote bullcrap. You?
I don't know.
Ian?
I don't know.
I'm leaning towards the bull meter.
Let me say this. If I was positive because of a pork burrito and the World Anti-Doping Agency
so
said
ridiculous.
no, I would sue the pants off of them. Sue them.
Oh,
I mean,
100%.
So
retest me.
If she's going to do that, then we'll see. Then again, Rafael Palmeiro sat up and looked at the congressman or whatever and said, now again, the congressmen are lying just as much as Palmeiro's lying, but he looked at the congressman and said, I have never taken a foreign substance ever in my life, period, and pointed a finger.
Except for the one time when I did.
And then later that season got busted for PEDs.
Yep.
Look, here's the truth about PEDs. Guilty until proven innocent. Everything else, innocent until proven guilty. PEDs, you are guilty until proven innocent. I'm not buying the pork burrito.
I don't know. It sounds so outrageous until I get up and say it, and say that in front of the World Anti-Doping Agency, and say it on social media and put it out there and say I'm blaming it on a burrito. It just sounds so bold to not be true.
Like, I would just say, I will sue the living crap out of you if that was actually a pork burrito. What's next?
So, some updates from NFL minicamps. Jamal Adams, so he's in his final contract with the Seahawks, his fourth and final year. He has been excused from minicamp, they say, for personal reasons. They attribute it to family reasons. But there's also so much drama surrounding his
What did I
contract.
just say about the last segment?
Guilty until proven innocent?
No.
Drama?
I said it was
What?
bullcrap.
Bullcrap.
That's what this is.
That's, yep. Hot crap. Seahawk crap. He did not they'd not yet given him a contract extension, which he has been asking for. He says he still plans to retire as a Seahawk, but no contract. A safety.
So we traded 2 first-round draft picks for this selfish, moody, and overrated star. And
wait, selfish, moody, I guess not overrated, but selfish and moody star sounds very familiar.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, but Aaron's not overrated.
He's not overrated.
Aaron's one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the game. Jamal Adams is a box safety. And let me say this. There is a big old difference between a star quarterback and a box safety. So Seattle pays 2 first-round draft choices for a box safety. It should be noted that Jamal Adams, I love when people will take a Jamal Adams highlight. Here's Jamal Adams tackling somebody. Yes, that's what a box safety does.
That's his job.
That's not what Ronnie Lott does. That's not what great safety, Sean Taylor, like that's not what those guys do. Troy Polamalu, they intercept the ball. Jamal Adams doesn't do that. And here's Jamal Adams, who cried his way out of New York, who is a very, me kind of guy, which the Seahawks like. They love those guys. Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, they love that kind of guy. And here they are. Now all of a sudden, Jamal Adams isn't showing up to minicamp because he wants a contract. And
personal reasons.
I will say this again. It always seems to be the same guys, right? It's the same. And I worry about this with Julio. It's always the same guys who are always holding out for contracts. Why is that? I mean, Dwayne Brown. I saw Dwayne Brown, Seahawks. He wants a new contract. Remember when Dwayne Brown held out in Houston during the season and they traded him in the middle of the year to Seattle? Like, guys that aren't happy because of money are going to get their money, and then they're either going to not play or they're going to be unhappy later because of money. And I would say I'm a little worried about Julio with that, right? Like, Julio got his money. Then Julio was upset about how Julio didn't get his own money. And he went, okay. Like, I think it was, what was it? Albert Breer wrote, hey, if Julio has a big year this year, expect Julio to want more money. What? Like, so, again, this is the Seahawks have really, dug themselves into a hole. Like, this is the kind of team they are. This is what they've invested in. This is what you have to deal with.
Also, some more minicamp updates from a quarterback that the Titans may or may not see later on this season is Mac Jones.
Yes.
From Patriots minicamp, the Athletic had an updated version of minicamp updates throughout the day. It says the biggest impression this week has been Jones's decisiveness in the pocket and confidence when pushing it downfield. Since June 4th, when Jones checked down on 4 of his 8 completions, the Patriots have had 6 practices, and his command is growing. It says the defense is working to make it tough on Jones. They were much more aggressive near the line to make him diagnose the rush, and this has been a theme for the past few weeks. Bill Belichick has been testing him mentally, and Jones appears to be holding his own. And I know that it's June, and I know you cannot take too much away from minicamp because you're not wearing pads and you don't have a defensive line in front of you. But the more and more I hear about Mac Jones, the more and more it sounds like he will be the guy eventually this season.
So I'm not a guy who's, anti-media, can't trust the media, don't trust the media here, don't trust the media there. But there are certain outlets that I just don't trust. The Patriots media cartel, the writers, the beat guys who cover the Patriots, I don't trust them.
Do you think they're homers?
I think it's kind of like the, you want the access inside.
You got to kiss a little bit to get there.
You got to get, and so what's something the access inside you can kiss to do it? Mini camp practice. I mean, no offense. I like Matt Jones. I'm sure he'll be fine.
I'm sure he'll
but
be,
again, the Patriot media cartel, I do not trust. I do not trust it. And, even here locally, I have issues with sometimes the groupthink that I think comes from the people who cover the Titans. But I don't ever feel like that the local media is just taking what the team feeds them and distributing it. There have been a couple of cases where I felt that way, but not normally. But with the Patriots media, oh my God, it's the same every time. It's like, oh yeah, this is where Bill was so smart. Bill waited it all out and ended up with Cam Newton as quarterback because Bill 7-9. No, thank you. What's next?
So Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, I don't know if anyone's been following the drama, but
they hate each other.
They hate each other, and they are very vocal about how much they hate each other. And ESPN, whatever. ESPN.com reported today that defending champion Bryson DeChambeau, defending U.S. Open champion, will not be grouped with Brooks Koepka during the first 2 rounds of the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. In my opinion, it's whatever. It's 2 guys with a feud on social media. Whatever. I just think it's really good for golf. I think golf needs a little bit of drama, and I think golf needs a little bit of that kind of butting of heads.
Where did this start?
It started because I think I think Brooks Koepka said something about Bryson DeChambeau being slow on the course and about Bryson DeChambeau being kind of chunky, and then it just kept going
So
from
Koepka
there.
called him fat, and DeChambeau
And he said he was
didn't
slow
like
on.
it,
He said he was slow on the course.
but it was really about calling him fat.
Probably.
Okay, so Koepka
I
calls
didn't
him
ask
fat,
Bryson DeChambeau.
and DeChambeau gets upset about it and does what?
And then he was saying things about Brooks Koepka on the course, and they were chirping mean things to each other on social media and on the course. It's been a whole lot of just
So
drama.
basically, Koepka called him fat, and then DeChambeau said, you suck, and that's what this has all become.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, whatever. I mean, to me, whatever. Like, you guys want to fight? I think you're
I
right.
just
It's
think
probably
it's
good
good
for golf.
for the game of golf.
It probably is. I think the golfing people, though, and this is just me.
They probably hate it.
They probably don't want to be wrestling. And that's what wrestling is,
Mhm.
right? Wrestling is like, oh, no, here comes The Rock. Let's see what The Rock has to say. Triple H, you need to get something right about The Rock. The Rock says, when you come into The Rock's home, you need to kiss up to The Rock. If you don't kiss up to The Rock will take it sideways and shove it up your candy. And The Rock gets all, whatever. If you smell. And the crowd goes nuts, right? Like, that's what they do in wrestling.
Right.
I don't think golf wants that. Like, it
Golf
doesn't
doesn't
seem
want it, but
very
golf
to me.
needs it. It's fun. It's fun to follow it. Like, I would have loved if they were grouped together at Torrey Pines and you would have just seen them, like, hitting each other with
And
their
if
clubs.
Vince McMahon ran golf, that's what you would see. And you'd see the King and JR doing the broadcast, and it would be like, oh my God, JR, can you believe it? Oh, here comes The Rock. Well, you know The Rock. He is the most electrifying
And you can
man
just
in
picture the
sports
crowd just
entertainment.
golf clapping at The Rock, just body slamming whoever it is.
That's what you're looking for. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying golf doesn't need it. I'm not saying it's good for golf. I'm just saying that's not what golf does.
I
Golf
know.
does not.
But it is just the drama that's so dumb.
It's
but
like
everyone loves it, and we can talk about it all the time in football.
It's like
and
me asking Mike Vrabel to give an interesting answer during a press conference. That's not what he does.
It's just not going to happen.
That's not what golf does. Those are headlines with Caroline. 615-737-1025. Bad day for me in the gambling yesterday. I
Great
was
day for
getting
me.
excited.
No money line Mondays are a good thing for me.
Caroline's is next. The NBA playoffs are here. My friends at the FanDuel Sportsbook app want to put you in hoops heaven betting all the action on that app. There are so many exciting matchups, and FanDuel is taking that excitement to another level because new and existing users can bet risk-free throughout the playoffs. New users can get up to $1,000 back if your first bet doesn't win. Plus, once you have an account, you can bet one same-game parlay risk-free every week. That's money line, point spread, first basket score, player points, rebounds, you name it. If you don't win, you'll get $10 back. Basketball fans, now is the perfect time to give FanDuel a shot. Just sign up with the promo code JGM to bet the NBA playoffs risk-free exclusively on my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You must be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Risk-free bet for first online real money wager only. Refund issues non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Same game parlay refunded as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile/web. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Stillman & Company, we are live 615 day at Ford Ice Center, Bellevue. Again, you've got until 6:15 to join the silent auction. This hour of the program presented by the Modern Dog Company. The Modern Dog Company should be Nashville, every Nashville resident, and it is mine. First go-to when shopping for the best leashes, harnesses, collars, and more for their dogs. Game listeners can use the special promo code 615day for 15% off of your order at themoderndogcompany.com. The Modern Dog Company, one company for all dogs. You know how, like, in normal, like, you have an endorsement, you say, hey, I use these guys. I don't have this, but I do use Modern Dog Company, and I do love them, and they are great people who own that company and take care of it, so I just want to give a shout-out there.
They have
and
very cute stuff.
I did just place a bid. I'm not going to say which because then someone's going to. I placed a bid on something. Text Preds right now, PREDS, to 76278, and you can win some of these signed items. Preds items, Vandy items, Titans items. They're all there, and all the money 100% goes to the Boys and Girls Club. And I did just place a bid on something. I'm sure I will get outbid soon enough, but hopefully not, and hopefully I'll win. And this will be like the Mookie Betts Foundation thing, where I didn't expect to win, and I did win. Which, by the way,
that's exciting.
That included 2 tickets to a Red Sox game.
Ooh.
And this was, I think, in December of 19.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Was it like April of 2020?
Well, so here's the thing. It was like 2 tickets. You got to call Mookie's people that are on the tickets. You got to call them to say, hey, that I won the tickets to the Mookie Betts thing. And then it was December of 2020. Mookie got traded.
Oh, no.
And then a pandemic hit. And now it's been like a year and a half since the Mookie Betts Foundation thing, and I feel weird calling Mookie's people saying, hey, can I get some tickets? So I think it's going to have to let that
You might just have to eat that one.
I might just have to let that one go, and I'm okay with that.
Oh.
It's time for
Sorry about
Caroline's.
Get in on the action. Put the money on the mahogany. What's on tap on the sports books? It's time to break it all down with Caroline's. Here on Stillman and Company.
On ESPN.
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline was 3-1 yesterday. I was 2-2. Let's roll through them, Caroline.
All right, we got Islanders Lightning. Give me the Lightning money line, minus 200. Not great odds there, but Islanders got game 1. Lightning know that going down 2-0, going back on the road is kind of like the kiss of death. Give me the Lightning.
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay on the money line, too, though I do want to pull for Barry Trotz.
I know. I'm happy for him, and Durr's got it done for me in game 1. We've also got Bucks, Nets. Give me Nets plus 110. Bucks got the last game, and Kyrie did leave last game with an ankle injury, but ESPN reported today that James Harden is likely for the game tonight. So KD is not going to be doing it on his own. I think he could, but he won't be alone. And it's huge, especially when they were able to get a win without James Harden. As a team, Milwaukee drained 16 3-pointers in the last game. In the previous games, they made 20 total over the first 3 games. So game 4, they had 16. Games 1 through 3, they had 20. So I think that this team is more of a game 1 through 3 make 20 versus make 16 in one game, if that makes sense. So give me the Nets plus 110.
Bucks on the money line. No, excuse me. Bucks plus whatever the points are. So I'm sure the Nets are favored, right?
No, Nets are not favored. I'm taking the Nets on the money line plus 110. Bucks are favored minus 110.
Bucks on the money line. Bucks are hot. Give me the Bucks.
All right. We've also got Brewers, Reds. Give me the Brewers plus 1.5 minus 175. I think the Reds are a better team, but they also have a horrendous pitcher out on the mound today. Brett Anderson. He's 2-4 with a 4.99 ERA. I'm sorry. Luis Castillo out on the mound for the Reds. He's 2-9 with a 6.47 ERA. Brett Anderson will be on the mound for the Brewers. Don't love either of them, but I think that the Brewers will keep this one close.
I'm going to go with the Reds. I know Castillo stunk this year, but I just don't like betting against the Reds. I don't know what it is. Cannot bet against them. I'm going to go Yankees, Blue Jays tonight. Give me the Blue Jays on the money line. That game in Buffalo, New York. Good pitching matchup between Jordan Montgomery, Hinch, and Ryu. I think Ryu's too much for the Yankees. Give me the Blue Jays on the money line.
I would take the Blue Jays on the money line, but I'm going to take the Yankees. Just to be different, just to be fun. Since I smoked you yesterday.
I mean, you beat me all in one game.
I know, but just give me that one game.
There you go. That's going to do it for us. Again, special thanks to the Boys and Girls Club for having us out here, the Predators, and all of our fine partners today that were hour-long sponsors, Steadfast and True Yoga, Martin's Barbecue, Brian's Motorsports, and the Modern Dog Company. Again, 615 Dave, planning to raise a lot of money for Boys and Girls Club. That's it for us. We're out of here. NHL coverage begins at 6:30. We are donezo. We'll see you tomorrow at 2. Stillman & Company. See you.